How are we all? Monkey time is over. You've reached the end of Monkey. I should probably... Okay. Alright. Colin Brooks. One sec.
No problem at all. This is going to be fun, isn't it?
No, I don't think it will.
I think it'll be at least interesting. But I have extremely low standards at this point.
It's interesting for Whatifalthist. I don't know if it's going to be a butchery, because it always is.
I get a kick out of seeing where they go, especially with something like death, because you're talking about, I mean, this is Bataille. This is the shit I love.
It'd be interesting to see if he actually pulls from that. I'm very doubtful.
Oh, no, absolutely not. What'll be interesting is if he comes up against it accidentally.
That could also be. Right, need that there. Boom. Okay.
It can be a teaching moment. Maybe.
Go. I think we're basically set up here. Let me trim the bottom. Retrim the bottom of this. Oh, no, that's just how it looks. That's odd. I guess if I... Nope. Weird. It just really wants to cut me off there for some reason. Oh well. Okay. So this is how death creates everything by Whatifalthist. And we are informed that we can link to Power Up Paradise to buy incredible video game phone cases with the code WHATIF5. Oh dear God. Oh, here we go. So we got sources.
Okay.
The Worm at the
Peterson, Pinker. This is a great start.
The Coddle of the American Mind by Jonathan Haidt.
Oof. Oh God.
He references Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari. That's your favorite.
He actually does have one of my favorite books in there, which is Huizinga's Homo Ludens, which is, I consider, probably one of the most important books I've ever read, personally. So,
I'm seeing a lot of, like, Dominion by Tom Holland. That's not a good sign.
Dude, it's Maps of Meaning with Jordan Peterson and Blank Slate by Pinker.
A Secular Age is pretty good. Wasn't super
Some of this
critical.
isn't bad.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a Jung fan, but that's great. Camille Paglia is great. The Ascent of John Keegan's okay. The Ascent of Humanity by Eisenstein.
Although Keegan's just a historian.
This will be interesting.
All right, well, without further ado. Do you know what this is? Symbol.
No.
Thing on the screen. No, me neither. All right.
Okay.
I was gonna pretend I was smart if you did know, and I was just gonna piggyback off of that.
Oh wait, let me Google really quick so I can see smart. Dragons on Earth drawing sun, moon, old. Can that give me a thing? Usually that'll work. No, it didn't. Oh, this is obscure shit. Let's do it.
I don't know how people will look back on this video, but I believe this might be the most important video I've released so far in my 9 years of Whatifalthist. I know that Whatifalthist is more of a history channel than a philosophy one, and earlier in my career I said I actively disliked philosophy, and at the time I was judging it purely off bad philosophy. I've just come out of a difficult period of my life where I moved across the country again, lost a lot of my best friends, and had to rethink over previous parts of my life. And I've come out of it happier and stronger, but I know a lot of other folks are going through rough times, so I wanted to make a video to help them out. People often pontificate about how the meaning of life is unknowable. I think in a lot of ways that's true because life's always a mystery. We all walk our own roads and are born with wildly different circumstances, thus creating a wild...
Fake name says it's an alchemical symbol for the sun and moon. Apparently. Actually, I wonder, hang on. Do I have Beyond Order here? No, I don't think I do. I think it's in the other room. Damn. I have, I wonder if it's included in that by chance.
Wildly different outcomes. However, I think our society is inherently cowardly and shrinks away from difficult questions.
Our age is so cynical and hates anyone who tries to do anything. Believing in things like love, honor, duty, courage, the truth, or being sincere will result in digital culture mocking you as arrogant. Try to wear anything fancier than a t-shirt or read classical literature, you'll be called pretentious. Society wants you to be an anonymous cog who consumes.
It's the symbol is after a bit of, first off, it's called Double Dragon, which is cool. Secondly, it's about transmutation.
Okay. So it was
a base.
He was right.
Base metal into silver and spot on. Silver and gold from lead, I guess.
I'm just thinking of that stupid song now from the Santa Claus Christmas special.
Of meaning or mortality.
Silver
Many people are going to call me
gold.
arrogant for even attempting this question, but as my dad used to say, if nobody in the room's doing the right thing, that means it's your job. Our age is quietly dying from an inability to deal with our own mortality and meaning, which is
It's a very pronounced butt right there.
incredibly ironic, and I don't pretend to develop a new truth here, but I'm going to give this a shot. I think the real short answer for the meaning of life is simple. It's to
The meaning of life is to stand before death in a manner you can take pride in. It's not a stupid quote, actually. That might be something out of Dune, honestly, which I finished. And it was very good.
Good for you. I'm not a fan of this line.
Look, my standards are like super low for this, okay?
Very fair. Very fair. It's Alan Watts said it better of death should be like how you feel about sleep at the end of a good day of work.
No,
I prefer that.
I never sleep, so that's terrifying.
properly. This is a video to explain the role of mortality in life. Through this video, you will see the history of the world and society today through a different lens, and also see the crushing crisis that will kill modernity soon and is eating our society alive. As you're going to see, by looking into the riddle of death, everything else makes sense.
This is honestly the worst. Oh, history, politics, and philosophy now. I think that's new. Okay, we're going to fast forward a little bit through the ad.
That you're still going to die. How about again? No matter what you possibly do, you will die. On top of that, you cannot fundamentally control how, where, or when you die. For all of you, you could die in an hour and be completely unable to do anything about it. The funny thing is that everyone in the audience knows that to be true, but me bringing it up repeatedly probably caused large numbers of you immense discomfort. Talking about death is one of the most impolite subjects in society. Kind of like talking about religion, race, or who in the room you've slept with. When was the last time you and the homies, or even in a university philosophy classroom, have really talked about death? An incredibly ironic.
Literally all
example.
the fucking time, buddy. Literally all the time. I'm just like, what? Death is a major topic. Just saying.
Death is I'm not... Well, especially since, like, he's been rubbing shoulders with a lot of sort of rad trad traditionalist religious creators recently. They're kind of obsessed with that. That's one thing you can't really say anyone on the political right isn't constantly talking about.
Love this is that in an earlier version of this video that I uploaded to YouTube, it was age restricted, meaning YouTube doesn't want people under the age of 18 to watch it. And doesn't that just so perfectly prove the point I'm making? And I don't know if this version's age restricted. A couple things got me to make this video. The first is I was listening to Dan Carlin's podcast in World War I, and the sheer courage and fearlessness of death that the soldiers in that war had was unbelievable to me today. The trenches of World War I were the closest thing to hell that the human race has produced, with rats, disease, rotting bodies, and shells turning beautiful European countryside into a wasteland reminiscent of the moon. In single battles like Verdun, the Brusilov offensive, or the Somme, millions of people died. Again, most of the boys who died at these battles were 20-year-old virgins who were willing to give everything to their nations and ideals. Many of the upper...
No, they were meth addicts, primarily. Huge amounts of drugs, cocaine, amphetamines, both world wars, by the way. But the idea that they were there and good boys and brave is, man, this is not starting good.
Well, I don't think they were meth addicts before they went in. I think they were given meth while they were in the trenches, to be fair.
Oh, no, they were, absolutely. Well, I mean, Nazis in World War II loved that shit. But no, World War I, like the trenches, that's how they kept things going, is lots and lots and lots of coke and lots of amphetamines.
Okay,
Good amphetamines, apparently.
The point is not that people who volunteered for the war effort were coke addicts. The point is that what kept them going was not a noble attitude towards death.
No, silly.
Middle class ones lived lives significantly more comfortable than ours today. Then I compare that to the people I went to high school and college with. I know lots of people who have legitimate mental health breakdowns for the most trivial things. One of my relatives is 15, and when I was visiting him, I asked if he wanted to stay at my Airbnb overnight since I had an extra room, and it took him half an hour to work himself up to do it since he viewed it as a big risk. And he wasn't ready for it, and then after we drove 15 minutes to my place, he only wanted to stay another 15 minutes at my Airbnb since he was too anxious. I once went on a high school trip and the other kids refused to eat any vegetables, and even when we had shared dishes, they'd pick the meat out for themselves and leave the vegetables for the rest of the group. In dating today with young girls, it's too much commitment to ask them to go on a date straight, or even ask them if they like you. You invite them to hang out, sleep with...
Phrasing. Don't go on dates with young girls.
The Whatifalthist love quest is not going well.
I just love how he's like, goes right from, they picked all the vegetables out, and also I date young girls.
Let's hear that one more time. I'm sorry.
High school trip and the other kids refused to eat any vegetables, and even when we had shared dishes, they'd pick the meat out for themselves and leave the vegetables for the rest of the group. In dating today with young girls, it's too much commitment to ask them to go on a date straight, or even ask them if they like you. You invite them to hang out, sleep with them, and then drag it out until what we call a situationship occurs, since everyone involved is too anxious to be adults and commit to a real relationship, which, need I remind you, can be cancelled at any time.
Thank you, Manic Jackson, for the membership. Appreciate it.
Our society has done something very, very wrong if our ancestors only 100 years ago were able to face the horrors of the trenches at the same age, and we're incapable of functioning with even the slightest amount of stress.
I mean, they weren't capable, though. They were mentally destroyed by it.
Shell shock was literally a thing because of World War I.
Like, nobody was able to handle that. The best you could say was a lot of them survived.
Extraordinary amounts of PTSD and violence brought home to wives and children, drug abuse, drug usage. The worst shit came home from the wars. That's how it works.
Yeah, and that's why Deleuze exists.
Myself.
It's not solely the name.
Self-delete.
Thank you, Manic Jackson. I appreciate that. Love and solidarity, comrades, imps, squids, and squimps. I'm sure that's a slur somewhere, so we're going to regret that one, but thank you.
At age 16. The second is when a flying branch was seconds from breaking my neck on the Appalachian Trail. And the third is when I went on a shamanic spirit quest and went to hell and thought I had already died. This sounds really edgy, but death makes the world so much more beautiful.
Oh,
When you
Jesus
pull
Christ,
yourself
go
out-
back, go back, go back, go back. I need you. I'm going to recontextualize. I want you to see, we're going to see the, oh my God. He is
Trail.
sharing before this one. He's giving 3 examples of confronting of difficult things he's done, or confronting death, or like he's playing with that right now.
Very, very wrong. If our ancestors only 100 years ago were able to face the horrors of the trenches at the same age, and we're incapable of functioning with even the slightest amount of stress. I've had 3 near-death experiences myself. The first was when I nearly self-deleted at age 16. The second is when a flying branch was seconds from breaking my neck on the Appalachian Trail. And the third is when I went on a shamanic spirit quest and went to hell and thought I had already died. This sounds really edgy, but death makes the world so much more beautiful.
Was that what you wanted to hear? He went on a shamanic
I just wanted to know what
and
he
went to hell? Notice
so
he
his-
didn't say he had a vision of hell. He said he went to hell in a shamanic spirit quest.
Hey, I've done my share of drugs. It's not fun, but I wouldn't say it's like a near death experience. That's a very fascinating 3 things to believe he's been close to death, from a branch almost hitting him, contemplating self minecrafting, and then doing drugs on or he doesn't even say that, so we don't even know what that is.
Well, that last one's
Man.
strange. The second one's like, huh, that branch almost killed me. And the first one is probably the most legitimate, but like, I can't get over. Because here's the thing, Brooks. Here's the thing. Is he saying he went on a shamanic spirit quest and it felt like he was going to die? Or did he go on a shamanic spirit quest to the underworld? And that's why he thinks he was close to death. Because that's what that sounded like to me.
As someone who has been on a handful of trips, I would totally accept if he said he'd been there. Like,
Okay.
shit's real. Shit's real.
I'll take
Shit's
that.
real. I'm okay with it's a branch almost hit me on a on a hike that I'm like, it's kind of a weird 3 things to pick, but okay.
When you pull yourself out and realize that you're still alive, the world looks much, much brighter. The sky is bluer, the flowers smell better, and music sounds much more beautiful. The tension of life and death is better than any drug and
It's scarier than the picture of the skull.
feels like heroin. The adrenaline pumping in your veins makes your body tingle all over with excitement. Just talking about it brings a smile to my face. This video in many ways feels...
That's not... If you've been confronted with death, that is not the reaction. Smiling is not the reaction.
Well, no, when you're confronted with death, the response is eat, pray, love. That's how that works.
liberating for me to write, since these are things that you can't talk about at all in polite conversation. When I lived in France, I'd go to the local...
Yes.
Can't we?
Hang on. What did you say again?
We can't talk about this in polite conversation.
This video in many ways feels liberating for me to write, since...
I don't know, like he thinks he's being edgy or something. I have no idea what the basis for that is. People talk about death literally all the time.
These are things that you can't talk about at all in polite conversation. When I lived in France, I'd go to the local Irish pub, and there was a French Foreign Legion encampment nearby, so I heard their stories about the colonial wars that France still fights today, notably in Mali for them. First of all, that's a much bigger and bloodier war than anyone gives it credit for, which isn't hard since no one's heard of it, and lots of them had horror stories, but they all said the same stuff that I did about death, that being close to it's terrible, but also the most exhilarating and profound experience a person can have. The truth is built off paradox. Everything's its own thing, but it's also the opposite at the same time. There's nothing worse than death, but there is also nothing better than death. That's...
What does that mean?
Part?
There's There's nothing worse than death. I'm ignoring the whole part about how he got the opinion of the people on the
French Foreign
stock
Legion.
stock side of the gun, talking about their experiences close to death in colonial wars. But I'm I'm perplexed by this. There is nothing worse than death, but nothing better than death.
Where we'll start with the riddle of death. This video pulls a lot from the
It's called
book
The
The
Riddle
Worm
of
at the
Steel,
Core by
stupid.
Sheldon Solomon, which is one of the best philosophy books I've ever read, and introduced me to this theory about how death drives everything in life. I'd highly recommend it, and it's a shorter read, around 200 pages. The only way you can understand anything is through its boundaries. It's arguable if Russia or Brazil are part of Western civilization, but you know what's not arguable? That China and Iraq are not part of Western civilization. You only know something really exists.
Wait, hang on. Let's hear it one more time. Sorry, we missed a map here. The West, Orthodox, Chinese. So there's the West and Chinese. The West down here in Australia again. Okay. And then red. There's just a lot of red. This part of South America is red. The South Pole is red.
Anything is through its boundaries.
Antarctica is red.
It's arguable if
Lost the
Russia
word.
or Brazil are part of Western civilization, but you know what's not arguable? That China and Iraq are not part of Western civilization. You only know something really exists once you see it not existing somewhere else. We never thought how special it is to have air to breathe until we entered outer space and saw how rare it is in the cosmos.
No, I'm pretty sure we figured that out when people choked and drowned on Earth. I'm pretty sure we were strangling people long before we went to space. Every major religion and practiced philosophies, I don't know what that means, say that the number one thing to be happy is gratitude. I'm pretty sure you need to...
So the book he's referencing,
Yeah.
Worm at the Core, is the idea that death is the worm eating away at us, pushing us to everything we do, the little fear of it. I couldn't disagree with this thesis in basically more ways. I think death is a component of things, but I don't think I have a lot of issues with it. But that's basically, it's literally the motivation for everything. Whew.
Every major religion and practiced philosophies. What is a practiced philosophy? Does it mean just like, I don't know.
If I may, real quick.
Yeah.
I will do the Zizek. Happiness is a conformist category. The first thing you learn in psychoanalysis is that one does not want what one thinks one wants, and happiness is not even close to it. When you're in the moment of passions, creating, doing great things, happiness doesn't enter into it. In fact, you're ready to die. You're ready to suffer. You're ready to tear yourself apart to create the thing you care about. Happiness is not part of it. I adore that, by the way. That's good, Zizek. But it's just very silly that he says this. This is the opposite of everything practiced philosophies say.
Well, it's the opposite of every major religion, too. Like, how about having to be in, like, a right ritualistic relationship to God, even if it makes you miserable? Isn't that the whole, like, idea behind Kant, too? Like, you only even know you're doing something purely moral or as close to that as possible if it makes you miserable to fulfill your duty, because otherwise there's a bunch of other things that are concatenating with it.
And there's no, I am unaware of any actual philosopher that says gratitude is the thing to be happy. I'm also unaware of religion that says this, actually.
Does he mean like that Sadhguru Jaggi guy on YouTube? I don't know.
Even today, most people take for granted having breathable air since we've never had to not deal with it. Life has meaning since it's finite. Look at how we treat everything that's not finite for granted. In Western European cultures, we take water for granted, while other cultures will fight tooth and nail for it. Life is finite to consciousness itself. Thus, it gives our lives as individuals meaning since it creates a boundary for our
Life is finite to consciousness itself.
Own existence. Without death, you would not exist. The only reason you existed at all is that your ancestors died and felt compelled to create you to replace them. The cycle never starts without death in the first place. People
Do they
often
die
ask-
before they made me? Dude. Are our parents necrophiliacs? Death starts the cycle. Come on.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure parents had children to care for them in their old age and to look after their stuff.
I mean, from what we know of early tribes and uncontacted tribes, death is not something that is necessarily feared. It's something that there's a revulsion around death, but there's a lot of sort of parts of that. But the reverence and sort of religiosity of burying our dead is one of the markers of what we consider to make the beginning of humanity. It's a note. Bataille makes the point in erotism that labor is actually what came about. It's the thing that makes us. And there's a combination of labor with death and the burying of our dead and the tools that are shown up there that allow us to sort of see the beginnings of what we consider humanity. I've loved that. But this is not.
You know what this
silly.
is? You know what this is reminding me of?
Wine mom philosophy?
Not exactly.
Okay.
How are you?
Little Pedro.
I'm fine.
What's wrong? Why are you down? Are you okay? No,
Are
talk to
you-
me.
Are you Little Pedro?
Yes.
Really?
You don't look little to me though. But, feel free to talk to us. What do you do?
I do music. I sing.
How long have you been singing?
It's a long story.
Talk to us. And you need to be free. This is the edition. The stage is yours. So use it well. Maximize it, okay? So how long have you been singing?
My mother died before I was born.
Oh. Sorry about that.
Thanks.
Wait, your mother died before you were born?
Yes.
Did you say before you were born?
Yeah, like my father married my mother shortly before I was born. She died. Then, right from then, I started singing even before I was born.
Oh. Sorry.
Oh, I don't understand.
There's a song my mother used to teach me when I was 3. I want to sing it today.
But you said she died.
I don't understand. Your mother died before you were born. Now,
Okay,
there's a
okay.
mother.
No,
there's
for
a-
real. She's even here. She can say hi to people. Mommy.
asking
Just as
why would she
coherent.
die.
That audio is terrible.
However, the reality is that life cannot exist without death. Without the time pressure created by death, there is simply no impetus to push for life in the first place. If they were completely assured of their own existence,
I mean, this is true. I never do anything unless I have a person literally in the room with me with a gun pointed at
He's
my
not talking
head.
about people. He's talking about life itself.
Read Dune, Sunday. Read Dune.
But
First
that's
cell-
just me yelling at you.
That's true, actually.
would have no reason to put the effort into making life in the first place. We can see this in that the only immortal beings in the universe are tiny cells that don't do much because they have no
An immortalized cell line is a Oh, this is from Wikipedia. Okay, so there won't be any funny typos here.
pressure to do so. This is a mental concept modernity really struggles with. In order for something to exist, there also must be its opposite. With the creation of mental processes that allow good judgment, it must also allow evil judgment. Man cannot exist without woman. The day needs night, love needs hate. Without that duality, nothing exists, only the chaotic void. This is the yin and yang that so many cultures talk about. To push this point even
I
further,
mean, the day is a spatial relationship with the planet to the sun. It doesn't need Jack. Thank you, Semaphore, for the $5. Last time Rudyard said his parents thought he'd become a school shooter, now we find out his nephew was terrified of sharing a room with him. Curious. Indeed.
the Trinity is a manifestation of how this duality creates new stuff. Man and woman makes a child, the day and night makes a new day, buying and selling makes the stock market, war and peace makes the nation an empire. This is why the Trinity is such an important concept in major religions, and why people are willing to fight and die over the concept. We laugh at pre-modern people's...
He just listed like 900 binaries, and then he's like, that's why the Trinity is so important. Like, it's so... Oh my god. Don't skip your symbolic logic courses, kids.
Don't skip out on that little baby toy where you put the shapes into the ball.
Dying over religion, but they were dying over what they viewed to be the basic nature of the cosmos. Well, we'll fight over an economic system.
Down with Team Q.
Which,
There's like two pages here. It's like a...
He just said, "Oh, you missed it. Just go jump back like 20 seconds."
Okay.
Or that's fine. Fuck it.
Nope, to be the basic nature of the cosmos over religion, but they were dying over what they viewed to be the basic nature of the cosmos. Well, we'll fight over an economic system, which is more shallow. There are two symbols that are...
Back in the day, they didn't fight over economic systems, just the power structures of economic systems. We're dumb. Things were better before.
Good to contextualize death with. The first is the one taken from the book, The Worm at the Core. Inside the apple that are...
Okay, just to be clear, so this is how many sources he lists, okay? I'm not even going to count them. It's more than 10.
Zynga. My Zynga.
We are 10 minutes in. He has only cited The Worm at the Core, which, as he has informed us, is very short. There are 26 minutes left. How is he going to get these in here?
Our lives, there is a worm that will devour us from inside no matter what we do. We do have lives, but gradually or not.
There's 20 minutes left. If he was literally just giving, like, the title of each book, that would probably take him an additional 10 minutes.
The worm eats us alive. The second is the worm Ouroboros, better known to most people from its Norse mythological equivalent as Jormungandr or the Midgard serpent. This is the snake that eats its own tail.
Yes, most people are unaware of Ouroboros, but most people are very aware of the Midgardian serpent's name.
The Midgardian serpent is called Nidhogg, isn't it?
This is shit. Fucking Ouroboros is the name everyone knows. It's such a weird way, weird appeal.
The Ouroboros is a snake, not a worm.
And?
Right.
Norse myth, the serpent
Also a
Jormungandr
dragon.
was explicitly the
Not a
symbol
worm,
for
though.
death, and that mortality creates life but also kills it, only to restart the process of...
It's also the edge of the world in the same way death forms the boundary of life. Okay.
Creation and destruction that goes on forever. This is a very useful and common symbol, and in Indian mythology, it's also why Shiva is the god of creativity and destruction at the same time. In every culture in the world, the divine feminine is the symbol for both creativity and destruction that are two sides of the same coin. This is why you're...
No.
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 Thank you. Thank you, Dan Brown. I'm pretty sure that's not even accurate to Jung.
That's not even accurate to Jung. It's not even accurate to Rome or Greece or Western. What did he say exactly? Maybe I'm misunderstanding.
Let's hear it one more time.
He creates life but also kills it, only to restart the process of creation and destruction that goes on forever. This is a very useful and common symbol, and in Indian mythology, it's also why Shiva is the god of creativity and destruction at the same time. In every culture in the world, the divine feminine is the symbol for both creativity and destruction.
Nope. Every
single
culture in
culture
the world, every one. Not even in X, Y, and Z big ones. Every single one. I still like how he keeps using the Dungeons and Dragons Tiamat, though. That's funny.
That are two sides of the same coin. This is why your genes make you want to impregnate that hot girl with a horrible personality that will make you miserable, because she has a better immune system that means that your descendants in 100 years have a higher chance of surviving the plague.
Oh, look at that immune system.
It's just so far off.
The immune system's so fucking hot.
Shiva's... I have so many things in my brain. Shiva is not the god of creation and destruction. I'm trying to figure out where he got that.
No, Shiva's only destruction, right?
Shiva's destruction.
Who's who is there a god of creation? Hang on.
I don't. I
Like, he's
mean,
literally called Shiva the Destroyer. He also creates, but he's the destroyer.
Shiva. Well, Shiva doesn't really create. Shiva creates space for creation, kind of thing. But I'm not super up on my.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm not that guy. Let's spin some. This is worth a second.
Shiva, the auspicious one. The great god is one of the principal deities of Hinduism. He is the supreme being in Shaivism, one of the major traditions within Hinduism. Shiva is known as a destroyer within the Trimurti, the Hindu trinity, which also includes Brahma and Vishnu.
Yep.
Brahma is the creator.
Yeah.
Yeah, so no, Shiva's not the creator because there's another god called Brahma that's the creator.
I'm trying to. Where did he write that then? Like.
Oh, just a heads up, by the way, you're cutting out a little bit. I think your noise gate might be a
Oh,
little strong.
sorry.
No, it's fine. If I had to guess, probably Jordan Peterson, Maps of Meaning.
100% Jordan Peterson.
I guarantee you he didn't get it from Joseph Campbell, which he spelled it wrong because it's
Fucking, it's Jordan. It's
Campbell.
Jordan Peterson. It's 100% Jordan Peterson.
I'm trying to see if there's anything else here. There's, yeah, Oriental. It's either Oriental mythology, maybe Houston's World Religions. Ugh.
This is why our genes often select us for degeneracy and lusts and other desires, while mystics and the wisest people in the world have told us for all of history that to humble ourselves and
for all of history, mystics have told us to humble ourselves.
And be content is what will make us happy, because...
Be content is what will make us happy. What? Hang on.
Ourselves, and be content is what will make us happy.
Okay, so the secret to happiness is to be content. Got it.
Because the guy who has 5 children through 5 baby mamas passed on his genes, well, the sage who achieved enlightenment and true happiness died childless.
I'm not seeing the selling point here. So, hang on.
People in the world have told us for all of history that to humble ourselves and be content is what will make us happy, because the guy who has 5 children through 5 baby mamas passed on his genes, well, the sage who achieved enlightenment and true happiness died childless.
What the fuck?
So, you could be Genghis Khan and have access to all the sex partners you want and populate the world with your progeny and be remembered for all time, or you could die childless. Eh? You know?
Do we value? But
also, didn't somebody pointed out in chat? Didn't fuck, what's his name? It's on the tip of my tongue. There was a book about him. God damn it! Why can I not?
Just real quick, Semaphore mentions it.
Siddhartha, that's it. Didn't Siddhartha have a son?
Shiva as a god isn't Shiva the creator. It's Shiva the destroyer. Shiva has other forms. There's a lot of complexity around it, but I mean, the easy response, and it's why it's not working. It didn't come out correctly when I was first saying it. Is Shiva is not like a yin yang binary creator destroyer.
Yeah.
That's a silly thing to say. I might as well say that about everything if we're going to do it to Shiva. There's a lot more, and it's not just simply like creation. It's destruction, and the destruction itself is creation. It's a creation of possibility space for other gods and also other forms of Shiva. There's a dance that's involved. There's a whole bunch of shit, but it's like this very... Because Sunday, you've done a video on how basically the West colonized religion, and this is like a perfect example of it.
Well, it's interesting because this is the West additionally colonizing religion by creating a facsimile of some Oriental form of religion, and then superimposing that
on all Oriental forms of religion. Basically,
yes.
This is Orientalism as a thing.
This
It's amazing.
This is like Orientalism squared, though, because he's also applying it to Christianity as well.
I believe the story of Adam and Eve really happened.
Case in point.
Although maybe not in the way.
Wait, what? Hang on. Sorry.
That's a good way to start.
That's a really good way to start. It's the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, first of all, but whatever.
I believe the story of Adam and Eve really happened, although maybe not in the way we expected it to have. Animals.
How do you expect the story of Adam and Eve happened, Brooks?
If he doesn't explicate that,
Oh, look, a dog. That's cute.
Have no knowledge of death. A wild dog has a life of drinking water from streams, living naked, and no medicine to deal with any of its illnesses. However,
It shows domestic dogs with fur.
almost any dog you see is happier than almost any human. Dogs are unaware of their own deaths, and as we understand it, no animal has knowledge of their own mortality.
that's
Animals are
bullshit.
just-
Depends what you mean by knowledge. Do they have the concept of biological degradation without complex language? Probably not. Do they understand the notion of, hey, that elephant I used to hang around with, it's gone. Sad. Obviously,
There's actually a lot of animals that mourn.
there are animals
we
that
actually
do
have-
burials.
We have animals that elephants, as you mentioned specifically, crows, I believe, mourn partners and parts of their flock. Dolphins, whales, they mourn. So that's stupid.
in the Garden of Eden, or their lives belong to God, and that they are not conscious of their place in the world, and thus are judged for the things they were biologically programmed to do, without their own individual judgment weighing them down. The animals feel happy since they just act with what their nature demands in that moment. Around 70,000 years ago, humans had a breakthrough called the cognitive revolution. After that point, we started having
So he thinks the story of Adam and Eve literally happened.
Cavemen. With cavemen and seven-headed snake.
So I think here's what he's I think I know where he's going with this. Humanity contracted a virus from a fruit, which mutated our brains and made God very angry.
Well, he's saying that cognition itself was the moment of awareness of good and evil and knowledge. And at that moment, the awareness of death is what drove us forward. He's saying Adam and Eve learned of death, that the knowledge is death. Because again, he's too stupid to actually read the Bible and know the words in it. So he thinks it's just knowledge, and he thinks knowledge is knowledge of death. And that actually is what drove Adam and Eve to change into what we know as people today.
I mean, it kind of looks like it's knowledge of intestines, really. That's kind of
Also-
emphasized here.
Also circumcision, apparently.
Oh, good catch. Yeah, indeed. Although
Which would be, I'm just asking, caveman tools for that seems pretty unpleasant.
I mean, they were very proactive about shaving, though, as you can see.
I mean, look, they're very well kept. I mean, as far as genital hair goes, they're very well kept.
culture, religion, large technological revolutions, and discovered the idea of the abstract idea. Before
Good,
I need to hear
good
that
job,
one
Dave.
more. I need to hear that one more time.
in large technological revolutions, and discovered the idea of the abstract idea.
Discovered the idea of the abstract idea.
All right.
Okay.
Beforehand, humans had the same physical makeup as today and neurological structures, but they lacked the ability to see abstract concepts.
Okay. Citation needed. Crows can use tools. They're able to abstract and infer. Dogs can infer. Inference is
Have you-
abstraction.
Have you seen a dog try to get through a gate with a stick? They're pretty
I
stupid.
mean, they're dumb
actually.
dogs, dude. I've watched grown-ups do the same thing with ladders. Like it's not a fucking mark of the entire species.
70,000 years ago
And I'm trying to make a career off of political theory videos on YouTube, so touche.
also was
So is
not
he.
a good time in our history.
Yeah, what the hell? See, there is no God. This is proof.
The supervolcano Toba in Indonesia had erupted, creating an ice age that made us a critically endangered species, with only 6,000 humans left on the planet.
Exactly 6,000.
What came after might have corresponded pretty closely to the Bible. There's the stoned ape theory, and that
Called it.
psychedelics radically increase trait openness, or the ability to think about abstract ideas. It would fit the biblical narrative of a group of humans overdosed on mushrooms or ayahuasca, or the fruit of knowledge, in order to survive the crisis, and later learned about life, death, and abstract ideas.
This is what happens when anyone does ayahuasca once. And they think it's the most profound thing they've ever done. And they think it must be that for everyone. That this is what enlightenment is, that this is how it comes about. And they aren't able to put it in its proper context.
Well, like, what if, just hear me out here, they've got organizational forms, obviously. They're in communities with each other when they're doing this. They're building shelters, they're building tools. Maybe they figured out, hey, when I build a tool this way, it works really well. When I build a tool this way, it doesn't work so much. There's a correct way to build a tool. There's a wrong way to build a tool. Oh, what's this? We have concepts of correctness and things like that emerging. Like, how about that? Most of our early reflections on concepts and things like that come from people doing like basic experiments with shadows and light and building shelters and whatnot, and you know, like figuring out just how to arrange stuff to make stuff kind of work for us in a really basic way. I don't know why on earth you would need mushrooms to achieve that, or why on earth mushrooms would even give you that. Like, it's just giving you more raw experience ultimately to something that's that naive.
So you get to experience ego death, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, but wouldn't you need like the kind of self-awareness that he's saying is the product of that in order to have ego death in the first place?
I just always have questions when it's clear that someone did a thing once and they apparently had a Christian style religious experience. I always want to just talk to their babysitter and find out, like, what did you say and how did you guide them and why would you do this to another person?
Yeah, did Damien really go to hell in that?
No, I mean, if he was on this, yeah. I mean, again, trips are, I give people room on like how they talk about it. But if it was a religious experience that's Christian based, it's kind of sad to me because that's not his fault.
Well, he said shamanic spirit quest, so I'm going to assume
Ayahuasca.
Not Christian, but
we left God's garden when we learned about our own deaths in the realm of ideas, which in this biblical worldview belongs to God. Thus, the most traumatic event in history happened. It supports my thesis that with the awareness of death came the cultural breakthrough in which humans developed religions, cultural differences, technological progress, and more.
You remember that part of the Bible where God sent them out of the garden because they learned about death and the domain of ideas, which belongs to God?
This is how humans were able to colonize the whole world and drive every other species of hominid extinct. It's interesting to look at the
But those other species of hominid also used tools and had clothes and culture and things.
130,000 views.
Yeah. We're doomed. We're doomed.
various innovations that came out of the cognitive revolution because they're really the strategies humans use to deal with death. Let me go through them. The first is culture and ethnicity. We subliminate ourselves into a shared culture as a way of feeling like we belong to something bigger.
And I need to hear that one more time.
Because they developed religion, Israel, the interesting to look at the various innovations that came out of the cognitive revolution because they're really the strategies humans use to deal with death. Let me go through them. The first is culture and ethnicity. We subliminate ourselves into a shared culture as a way of...
We subliminate ourselves into a shared culture. Okay. That's what I thought I heard. Just making sure.
Feeling like we belong to something bigger. If I know the American nation will continue the way of life I belong to longer than I live, that'll put me at ease. This is also a genetic strategy in that nations traditionally have shared genetics, and so, say, if you're dying for your nation, genes that you share with other people will survive even if you as an individual die.
What am I looking at here?
And just mentioning Semaphor's right, subliminate is not a word. Sublimate is.
Well, he'd still be using that wrong.
He'd still be using it wrong, but it's at least a real word to use wrong.
Subliminate. I'm assuming he meant sublimate. Maybe
Eliminate.
Maybe he meant sublate.
But now we're linking, so let's see. Through this sad
Sublate.
ramble-
Sublate would work if he meant sublate, because that's. I mean, it's still not.
I mean, sublimate. No, it doesn't work.
No,
I'm trying to be generous.
But sublate works. Like when you sublate something, you assimilate it to a larger
But
thing.
so he's done this thing where he's put a thread narratively from through everything. Without actually making a single argument or actual inference or speaking to anything but just gesturing at emotional concepts.
Well,
Has he
Brooks,
said anything beyond that at this point?
I am shocked that he hasn't. This is Whatifalthist after all.
People use national symbols and myths to create a shared national cult that also survives before and after death. This leads to the second strategy, that being art. Beauty can last forever,
What?
or at least very long amounts of time. The most beautiful thing I've seen in the whole world during my life is Hagia Sophia,
There's a knife in
which
my
was
home.
built
That's the
65
saddest
years
thing
ago.
that's the saddest thing he's ever said.
Maybe
That's actually the saddest thing anyone's ever said ever. I've never heard anything that's so depressing. That's so sad. The Hagia Sophia as the most beautiful thing he's ever seen. Look behind him. That's the most beautiful thing he's ever seen.
It's a nice, soft, kind of pinkish color.
That's so sad.
It's got a well. No, it's not a nice looking fence in front of it, but it's sturdy. It's got a nice hat though.
That's so sad. That is.
I mean,
Oh
look,
God.
it's probably a cool.
Look, dude, I feel just like I'm feeling worse and worse.
It's
The
probably
idea
a cool
that someone
scene.
went for a trip and ended up in hell, that's someone else's responsibility to stop that from happening. But that it had this level of impact on him, he considered it a near-death experience. Like at that point, I'm just sad at this point.
I mean, like, look, it's. Hang on, it's got aesthetic value. Look at this thing. That's pretty cool. I wouldn't say it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life, but it's not the worst
That's
thing I've
why
ever seen.
I'm not saying, oh, it's sad that he said it looked cool. He said it's the most beautiful thing he's ever seen in his life.
Maybe the man likes domes. Have you thought of that?
There are better domes.
Those are some nice domes.
No, there are better domes. Plus, all this is basically remade, so whatever.
The people who were building it, I'm sure, knew that they were making the most beautiful thing in the world, and I bet every single one of them would be happy if they thought we still believed that nearly 2,000
You come home to your newborn son. Your wife says, "Oh, isn't he the most beautiful thing in the world?" No.
years later. Every artist wants to make something beautiful and true that will last longer than their lifetime. It would make me the happiest man in the world if I realized people still watch these videos centuries from
I saw that painting on a puzzle.
now. If the nation allows your genes and culture to survive, art allows your soul, personality, and essence to do so.
Soul is green, apparently.
Speaking of Hagia Sophia, the third strategy is religion. Religion obviously gives an afterlife, or the idea that the soul lives on after death. Humans, by all accounts, need
What about those religions that don't say your soul lives on after death, which include, by the way, Christian religion for most of its existence? There's no knowledge in the grave for a reason.
to believe in an afterlife, since we're the only society ever in history not to have one. The afterlife.
I would. Hey, how you doing? Did you want to bring up Shiva earlier and then completely ignore the, multiple billions of people who believe in that, or Buddhism, which is, I think, the majority of the world? Yeah, doesn't really have an
Christian
afterlife.
annihilationism or Judaism, for God's
No,
sake.
just take the majority religions in the world. There's no after death. Like death isn't a thing in the same way in Hindi and I mean all of those. Brahmanism? No, I'm so confused. He really just thinks everyone's into Jesus.
Well, I think he really thinks that every religion is basically
The Hagia
just...
Sophia is just so fucking depressing that's the most beautiful thing. Jesus Christ.
I mean, he's shown paintings here that are more artistically impressive than the Hagia Sophia, but I mean, it's yeah. He when he thinks of religions, he thinks of this is Christianity, but this is the blue deck, or this is the red deck, or whatever. It's like Magic the Gathering. They're all the same. They're just different themes, and the themes are just Islam is just desert Christianity.
Doesn't even need to be nice.
Which isn't from a desert anymore for some reason.
Most pre-Axial Age ones weren't. However, every
that painting's
society...
better looking than fucking Hagia Sophia. It's this is someone who's played far too much like Crusader Kings and fucking oh my god. Oh god.
For the $5. Unrelated question to Brooks. Would you recommend the Ian Buchanan / Eugene Holland introductory books to Anti-Oedipus?
I would not recommend Buchanan for pretty much anything. Eugene Holland, I believe, has a better read of AO. And he has a far better grasp and explanation in his introduction to everything. If you're wanting to go along, though, just go over on YouTube after you're done here, search DGQC, and you can find me literally reading and explaining every single fucking sentence in the whole book.
That's that's DGQC in case
DGQC, the Deleuze and Guattari Quarantine Collective.
Exactly.
2 ways agnostic societies fail. Well, this is not true.
Well, hang on. So totalitarianism, Nazi Germany, communism, Nero, Caligula. Those are the same societies.
He's talking about the Qin Dynasty.
Oh, I got that. But Nero and Caligula were the same society. In this system, the state replaces the divine with megalomaniacal rulers, causing mass death as a want of imprinting their authority. This almost always burns out in about a generation or two. And
Germany did not replace the divine. They utilized it constantly. They were a deeply religious Catholic Christian society.
Also, I think agnosticism in Germany long predates Nazism. 2, Epicureanism, ancient Greece and Rome, the modern West, ancient Babylon. In this model, since there's no broader standards that the society believes in everything degrades into degeneracy and decadence. People stop having kids, being able to fight, the upper classes crush the lower classes. A society without religion is like a nation without a capital.
I'm very hesitant to have the Qin Dynasty included in there, given that I would say it is not a wild thing to say that a lot of that and the cities, like, this is the foundation of, like, modern China. But I wouldn't say it necessarily, well, I mean, it was, 11 years then? Like, it was fun because it was just the one emperor? Like, is that what he's talking about, like, the whole society?
Okay, hang on.
I'm so confused. I don't know enough about this era, and I don't want to say too much, but, like, this feels really wrong.
Well, what does it mean for it to be agnostic? Or does he mean that they were agnostic with respect to, like, a Judeo-Christian style singular deity?
100%.
Because they believed in spirits. Like, China's had religious cults proliferating throughout it for forever. It's kind of just dumbfounding.
I mean, Caligula, like, to call it a society when he was, like, what, in charge for 4 years?
Isn't
Caligula didn't last very long.
He also is.
That's a fucking society.
There's also
like 3.5 years. I'm gonna Google this shit.
he also claimed divinity, didn't he? I thought that was like a big thing about Caligula.
I'm hesitant to say yes because I don't know enough.
Hang on, I'm gonna pull up Wikipedia here. Yeah, here we go. I remember reading about this a while
Claims
ago.
of
on this
divinity,
page.
yeah.
That's where I got that phrasing from. I was literally reading this a little while ago. Caligula took things a step further and had those in Rome, including senators, worship him as a tangible living god. That seems like a perverse opposite of agnosticism, actually.
Well, he said the state replaces the divine with megalomaniacal rulers causing mass death as a one of imprinting their authority, which is a kind of oversimplified thing to say about Caligula, given.
Can I
Caligula.
make a suggestion, Brooks?
What would that be? Do you want me to change the? Is it the audio still?
Yeah, I think it's your noise gate. It's cutting you out like just a
It's fucking Discord, man. Every
split hair
time.
too soon.
All right, I'm gonna change it back. You can let me know if it works better. It's fucking Discord every time.
Yeah.
Is that improving it? Does that improve it?
Sorry, speaking again.
I'm just hoping it works.
It's so far it seems much better.
All right, good. We'll just go with that then. I'm gonna use the restroom and cry a little bit and return.
All right, you do that. Take your time. I'm gonna refill my coffee. We'll be right back. Chat. I think Whatifalthist killed Brooks. Oh, there you go.
Yeah. I feel very sad. This was not funny.
Well, I've got bad news for you. We're only halfway through.
We're not even halfway.
Not even halfway.
Ever in history has failed, either by falling to totalitarianism or hedonism, and so religion by all accounts is necessary for humans
That's his Epicureanism, not hedonism.
to have a functioning
I
society.
love that he
Religion-
equates them. That makes me happy. I like it.
Integrating science and traditional wisdom to find our place in the universe. Do you know anything about this? The Web of Meaning by Jeremy Lent.
I'm gonna guess anyone who has a picture of a fucking Joshua tree with that star pattern behind it is not someone I give a shit about reading. But let's find out. I'll search George Monbiot. You want to search him?
I'm searching Jordan Lent.
All right.
Let's see. Jeremy Lent, our mainstream worldview has expired. What will replace it? Look at this. Hang on. Look at this thing. This is bizarre.
Author and integrator.
Not sure what that means. Join the Deep Transformation Network, an online community for people who recognize that our civilization is in existential crisis and to want to engage with others in facilitating a deep transformation toward a life-affirming future on a regenerated Earth. Nope. The Deep Transformation Network invites open-hearted, caring, and curious folk, engaged citizens, and change-makers from around the world to come together in helping catalyze the deep transformation our global society needs. Here we go.
George Monbiot is actually a climate activist who seems like he's not shit. So that's depressing.
Well, it's unfortunate for him to be featured here. A worldview of deep interconnectedness. As our civilization careens toward a precipice of climate breakdown, ecological destruction, and gaping inequality, people are losing their existential moorings. Our dominant worldview of disconnection tells us we are split between mind and body, separate from each other and at odds with the natural world. This worldview has passed its expiration date. It's not. Well, that's fine. That's fine.
I agree with all of that.
I agree with that so far. It's not just dangerous. It's based on a series of flawed assumptions that have been superseded by modern scientific. I have no issue with any of this. This might actually be a decent book. Damn shame he's going to slander it by putting it in this.
Religion also increases awareness of our connectedness with the universe. We're not individuals, but little pieces of a web of existence.
Yeah, I guarantee you that's not actually going to be the thesis here. That he's not going to be saying just part of the great circle of life. I'm pretty sure that's not what he's going to be writing a book about.
Part of families, nations, ecosystems, and eras of history. Studies have found the thing that makes people happiest is interpersonal relationships and connections. Once people realize they're part of something bigger, which religion supplies, they can feel like death's not so scary since everyone's going to be all right without them, and many of the things they loved about themselves
No, they're not. They're all going to die.
will survive past their deaths. In Robert Wright's book, The Moral Animal, he makes interesting...
Okay, God, so he's actually doing what I thought he was going to do. So he's going to... He had one book for the first 10 minutes. Now he's just going to just motor.
But he didn't even, like...
single one.
He didn't even use that book.
That's because he didn't read it. He read the cover. I guarantee you, he literally just looked for a book with a cover that he could say... Ugh. Look, okay, so, like, case in point. I don't know anything about this. I'm probably not gonna like it very much. EvPsych tends to suck. But this is called The Moral Animal. Why We Are the Way We Are, The New Science of Evolutionary Psychology by Robert Wright. What's his use of this going to be? I guarantee you it's going to be nothing that you couldn't just glean from the cover.
Point that
Yeah, but
religion is
so real quick, this book I know because it's basically like Dawkins does this thing where he takes science and then like adds a bunch of shit to it in order to explain it. That's kind of not really science at all. That's what this is. This is a bullshit. This thing's bullshit. Bullshit. It's a bullshit book. It's bullshit.
Okay, but
let's leave it there.
Let's pretend it's not. Is he going to actually use it anyways?
Religion is a rebellion against our genes. Our genes naturally design us to be competitive, cruel, petty, and lustful, since those are strategies that help spread our genes in low-trust environments. Like,
no, he read the back blurb. There's literally nothing there that refers to any of its contents that you wouldn't get from, like, the dust jacket.
the wild. Religions are group agreements on the part of society to make choices to make life more bearable. Take Christianity, where in the Roman Empire at the time, 1/3 of the population were slaves with no rights. There were several tyrannical, cruel, and perverse god kings who ruled with impunity. Women were treated as second-class citizens, and Rome held its boot on most of the known world.
How would... Okay, so given those conditions, how would being part of that religion make life bearable? It doesn't make any sense. They were
You just
persecuted.
described colonial America.
Eh?
Christ arrived and said it didn't have to be that way, and if we all tried to love each other, things could get better, and they gradually...
A short list of moral reforms made by the Christian Church over the Middle Ages. The abolition of slavery.
This is inaccurate in every way.
We abolished slavery in the Middle Ages. Good news, everyone.
The abolition of debt slavery, rules of war,
equality before the law, because isonomy is not a Greek word that pre-existed Christianity by a long, long time, close to 1,000 years. The end of arranged marriages among common people. There were no arranged marriages in the Christian Middle Ages. The emancipation of the individual from the clan. We were all enlightened, individualistic liberals in the Middle Ages. The rise of reciprocal contracts for legal relationships rather than hierarchy plus force. There were no contracts before the Christian Middle Ages. Women's right to...
I'm stunned. This is incredibly misinformed. Please continue, because I want to get to the last one, which I think is just basically hilarious.
Women's right to act independently from men, legally and economically.
What?
In the Middle Ages.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
The abolition of debt slavery. There were no serfs in the Middle Ages. The rise of modern logical systems. In the Middle Ages. Modern logical systems. In the Middle Ages. The creation of the scientific method. I have no idea what that's referring to, but it wasn't invented by Aquinas, whatever it was. POW rights. I actually don't think that's... I don't think that's actually true. I think it was true.
It's not. I would say the Spanish Inquisition may have a handful of words about POW rights and the Crusades and a few other things.
Well, there would have been norms about like ransom of important figures, but that was... You did not just have rights categorically if you were a prisoner of war. You had to be somebody. And even then, you didn't necessarily have rights. There was just there were reciprocal norms that were observed to make sure that the people in charge of different organizations could have some guarantee that they would be returned.
Actually,
yeah.
I'm thinking about the scientific method one, which I think is hilarious. The part that's wrong, actually, is the Christian church part. Because the Muslims...
Oh, Muslims. Oh, yeah, no,
the Muslims during this time were kicking ass.
Yeah, you're...
So he's wrong in a new way with that.
Well, here's the thing, too. Like, when he says the scientific method, Muslims carried science forward much farther than Christians did. But they were carrying on projects that were more or less consistent with Aristotelian logic long, long before. Was there a... So by the modern scientific method, I'm assuming he means something you'll get out of Karl Popper. It's the only thing I can think of, because otherwise he's not talking about anything particularly modern, and he's not talking about a method. That I think is the crucial point. He's referring specifically to a method. I don't think he understands the difference between science and the scientific method anyway, so this might be moot. But the scientific method, first of all, there is no single scientific method. There are many methods in science. Anyway, rules of war. No, they did not invent rules of war.
Nope.
There have always been norms of war for as long as war has been a concept. The abolition of polygamy.
I mean,
that's the closest one he's got so far. Abolition of sex slavery is absolutely wrong.
Separation of church and state is hilariously wrong.
The moral reform made by the Christian church was the separation of church and state.
That's hilariously wrong. Like, that's insane.
He also misspelled separation. The invention of universities.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. Sort of. It's not the first schools in the world. Plato's Academy and Aristotle's Lyceum predated by a very long time. But okay.
Maintaining literacy is, to me, funny.
Oh, no. Well, once again, back to the Muslims. Do you know where Thomas Aquinas got his Aristotle from? The Reconquista. I want to know how you can maintain literacy that was, I think, sub 20% throughout the entirety of they maintained literacy of a minority. Well, I think by maintain literacy, I think what he means is just they sort of carried forward ancient knowledge or something. But
they really didn't do that. They burned a lot of shit.
Well, they burned a lot of shit. They got a lot of their shit from other groups that did that. Once again, there's a reason why when you go back and you look at our old translations of Aristotle, the vast majority of them they were handed down in Al-Andalus. That's where we got a bunch of them.
I love you got people in your chat like, hey, those Islam's still a religion, so it counts. Unless he wrote literally made by the Christian Church over the Middle Ages. Well,
I mean, hey, there was a tradition that held that Islam was actually a splinter of Christianity and was itself a heretical sect for a long time.
Oh, that's disgusting.
That's in Dante. That's pretty ubiquitous.
Gradually did. Buddhism asks us not to enslave ourselves to our own biological desires which benefit our genes, while instead calming our minds.
Oh, yes, the Buddha is famous for saying, do not benefit your genes.
So we don't have to live our lives solely through our desires. The most obvious strategy to survive death is having family and children. This is since your child is literally half you, and since half of a personality is genetic, you'll see traits of yourself in your kids. If you have 4 kids, you've doubled the you-ness in the world. Look at how Genghis Khan literally fathered both Tamerlane and the Mughal Empire. When you make a family, you make a group of people genetically designed to irrationally care about you, thus making the pain of life easier to bear, and you know that when you pass, you'll be missed and live on through their memories. As I talk about in these videos, we are the society in all of history which cares about family the least. In basically every other era of history, with a few exceptions.
God, imagine how he feels about his parents. That's so sad.
Most important thing in someone's life. And you can see that in the top predictor for revolutions and political crises as when people can't afford to have children. Sexless young men are another great predictor.
You can't afford to have children in Japan. You can't afford to have children basically anywhere. We're not in a revolutionary state of affairs at all.
Pretty sure people had a lot of kids in, those areas that were super, super revolutionary.
Actually, I tell a lie. It's not that they can't afford to have kids in Japan. It's that they don't have time to have sex in Japan. That's their issue.
Predictor. This is since once reproduction's not secured, people go crazy and lose perspective on everything else. We were designed to breed first and be rational later.
Jesus
in many
Christ.
cultures of the world, like the Egyptian or Indian peasants, nothing in their lives were secure except reproduction and the family, and those societies have gone on stably for thousands of years. In most cultures in history, someone's social status among the common people was determined not by their wealth, but by how many children they had and how many they could support. Which is why the patriarchs of the Bible brag about how many children they have. Hell, in this video...
No. That's, it's kind of amazing. He still hasn't made a point, except to say death creates everything, and then he's just giving examples or phrasing things in the way that seems to show that, but doesn't in any way, shape, or form, logically or any other way. So it's kind of magic, actually.
Kind of also leaving out the fact that these families had to be self-sufficient in the fucking wilderness.
Well, and also that family as a thing has changed drastically over time.
Yeah, but when you're talking about like biblical nomads, you're talking about, like, of course their children were a point of pride for them. That was also your army and your workforce.
And you also had as many as you could because most of them died.
Well, that's how death creates everything, Brooks.
God damn it. It's just so stupid.
Video, I talk about how family structure is the biggest factor behind political systems. You can almost perfectly predict political ideologies across the 20th century.
Absolute nuclear in North America. Endogamous communitarian.
What?
Southern
Flexible?
Southern Africa is all, it's all crazy down there.
It's a wild place.
Anomic.
That's fucking wild, man.
Okay, for those who don't
that's
know,
intense.
anomic means without law. So basically anything goes. But Africans
I want to know what
flexible
the difference is
between
like
anomic
flexible
and
and
flexible.
anomic. Yeah.
That isn't.
And then southern India, which is
hang
asymmetric.
on. Wait. No, wait. There are blurbs here. They're just so small. Let me read them. Absolute nuclear. We have descriptions. Inheritance is entirely up to the decision of the parents involved. Young people need to leave the home to establish their own independence from family. These societies view everyone as free individuals, but are also comfort bale with economic inequality.
Wait. Why is absolute nuclear why is that last sentence in there?
But are also
these societies view everyone as
free.
free individuals, but are also comfortable with economic inequality. How does that have anything to do with the family structure?
I don't know. None of this makes sense. Now we have authoritarian. We missed that one because they're tiny and green. Apparently, why?
Exogamous communitarian. Men get wives out of clan and then live under the same roof as clan father. This writing's great. These societies have often...
Men get wives out of clan and then live under the same roof as clan father.
Treaties women the worst and often try to...
And often...
All right, you got to read it. I can't.
This is like...
Replicate this overbearing and anxious family structure with the big governments. This region has been very communist over the last century.
I think he was hitting the sauce when he was writing that one. This is like Homer Simpson losing brain cells. So he's talking to go to where Alzaz thing, where
Alzaz, you are adorable, asking, why is Europe more finely divided? Oh, you mean the Eurocentric white nationalist wannabe is going to more finely care about Europe than everywhere else in the world, as if everywhere else is like 5 or 6 countries?
Well, I mean,
wow.
I mean, you say that, but like, look how far the orange goes in both directions.
Well, no, see, remember, he considers the Slavs to be Russians.
Okay. Endogamous communitarian has a... Oh, sorry. So that was exogamous communitarian.
Yeah.
Endogamous communitarian. Marriages
which is the Northern Sahara and Middle East.
Famously intermixed and completely sort of uniform. And marriages are arranged through the clan where all the clan lives together. This creates very little social tension with low suicide, divorce, atheism, etc. However, it tends to be conservative and oppress women. This region is overwhelmingly Muslim, a region which gives rules for clan life.
What?
There's asymmetric. There's a little nub down here that's asymmetric.
I love asymmetric being like Southern India, which is insane.
Marriages are arranged to the female line. The system... Why wouldn't you put that up here in like North America or you know...
because
Middle East? That was a thing.
I mean, Bedouin, but whatever, it doesn't matter.
This system requires the caste system to work and creates small social groups. It gives women a good deal of social power. These regions often are communist or socialist, but never violently so and never impoverishing.
Oh, yes. India, famous communists.
Okay, here we go. Flexible. Most children are born in polygamous households. Fathers are very minimal. Oh my God. It's because fathers are
Blacks.
I was going to say, it's because they're black. Fathers are very
because they're black. No, I just realized you got to see, look where red goes in America.
Oh, fuck. I didn't even notice that. Okay.
This is just racist shit.
Fathers are very minimal in raising children, and family structures are not stable. There are no clear rules. This makes the creation of a strong state or ideology very hard. Polygamy creates large cadres of violent, sexless young men.
Violent, sexless young men.
That's a great band name.
I guarantee you, you go into his search history on Pornhub, and they are not sexless young men that he's looking at. All right. Economic.
Do you want to read that one?
These societies have no laws against incest.
There are no famously no laws against incest in South America. Famously.
Oh shit. Okay. So specifically though, this is the tribes. This is what he's saying. It's like the egalitarian nuclear is the areas that have been conquered by Spanish or other colonial powers.
So he means Aztecs.
Yeah, he's referring to basically the Amazonian or the native people, the, darkies, as he might call them. Families can either be nuclear or not, or be polygamous. There we go. That would also... Wait. But then if those are the three ways they can be,
Families
then
can
that would
either
mean
be
that they're not
nuclear-
anomic. That would be... they tend to not be... Oh, God. What is that word?
They tend not to form coherent political ideologies.
The
cities have storing tendencies towards incest, which makes them inward-looking and their regimes weak.
Strong tendencies to incest. Why does he think everything is incest?
Why doesn't he think that's representative of Europe?
I mean, the Habsburgs would like a word with him.
Okay, egalitarian nuclear. The parents must equally divide inheritance between all sons. This creates the where is this? Where's egalitarian nuclear?
This would be the Catholics.
Middle America.
This is Catholics.
Right.
Oh, it's Catholics.
Got it. What timeline is this? Because this is like a map, right? So this should all be in the same time period unless he's put something to indicate time period, but he has the Aztecs cohabiting with the Catholics.
This is pathetic.
These societies tend to alternate between military dictatorships and democracies.
They have strong macho cultures and respect property and freedoms.
No, hang on. That doesn't work. That's not Catholics.
Yeah, it is.
Alternate between military dictatorships and democracies.
Sure. I mean, Chile, for sure. Brazil, for sure. Argentina. The entirety of Central America.
No.
Mexico. I mean,
I know that they are largely Catholic, but that's not. Never mind. Okay.
What? I'm not, dude. This is not. He has outlined specifically Catholics. So, and here's why I'm saying that, if I may. Let's look at Brazil. See, he's got the blacks moving into Brazil.
Yeah, I see that.
Those are where the darker skinned people in Brazil live. The rest is the whiter Catholic areas and also the land they own, I guess, which is kind of fascinating because once you get away from that coast, kind of not a lot of white people left, but they own the land. So I guess that counts. But then like the coast of Colombia, I wouldn't go there necessarily.
Okay, authoritarian, last one. One son inherits everything. This creates a society that's okay with inequality and nationalistic as the family's history is paramount. The control over the eldest child gives these societies immense discipline and strong character. Lean towards nationalism or strict religion. You know what I'm noticing here? Do you know what the absolute nuclear is? The absolute nuclear is...
Protestants?
No. The absolute nuclear is anywhere without castles that has some kind of secular government.
No. The UK, he's got a bunch. There's a bunch of castle shit there. Denmark.
No, you're right. The UK is blue.
Denmark, Netherlands, parts of France. What the fuck? I want to zoom in and I want to understand how he divides Europe because that's like France is like 9 things. What the fuck?
Well, because the modern UK is a godless Orwellian dystopia in which people are arrested on the street for not having licenses for their potato peelers. France, of course, is completely godless and the source of he wouldn't know the name of Deleuze, but he would probably know the name of Foucault and a lot of other very, very gay satanic French people. And then Australia had imposed masks on their people during COVID. So there.
I do not care for this.
I think this is beautiful.
I think it's art. Does that count?
Look, everywhere he likes is authoritarian. The fact that Japan is authoritarian is the biggest tell here. He has nothing bad to say in authoritarian.
Based off what family structures a society has.
Structures.
Possibly the greatest student of mythology in the last century, Joseph
no.
Campbell.
I was going to say Jordan Peterson. I thought it was. It's not Jordan Peterson.
No. Makes me angry.
It hurts. Makes me angry too. But it's not Jordan Peterson. I was expecting Jordan Peterson. Campbell is not great, by the way, guys.
Campbell's bad.
Campbell's very bad.
Unless you consider George Lucas a good writer, then he's probably fine.
Talked about how in most mythic traditions, life is viewed as a game by the gods. This is the best
poetry to it, it rhymes.
Explanation I've ever seen. Life is painful and beautiful, lovely and horrible, and goes through so many bizarre dreams, whether 9-foot scorpions, the long-necked dinosaurs, Stalinist Russia, the pyramids, l'Ancien Regime France, and everything else. Life is a series of absurd dreams that we all collectively agree are reality. The universe seems to have little interest in what our personal desires are, but does everything it can to make life interesting and like nothing that came before or we could possibly imagine. Emperor Augustus on his deathbed said one of my favorite lines ever in history with, "Have I played my part well?" This line always sticks with me since due to the absurdity of life. Augustus was a Republican in his youth.
That's
from
how
a
I feel.
small town.
That's your thumbnail. Just put his head on the left. That's how I feel.
Well.
The guy on the right is exactly my emotion.
Oh, I see what you're saying. That's good, actually. Oh, that's a good call. I'm going to do that.
That's literally how I feel. It's like, I kind of want to just get up.
Oh, this is brutal. I'm just posting it in Discord so I have it for later.
And at a young age was forced by circumstances to become military dictator of the known world. He viewed the population he ruled with a combination of contempt and love. Circumstances forced him into
combination of contempt and love.
Bizarre actions, and that's true for all of us. I play the role of a YouTube historian in my life, and I spend most...
Okay.
All right. That was nice. That was good. I needed that. I feel lighter in my face. It's good.
Most of my waking hours wearing that mask in some form. However, I never thought this would be my life. This wasn't a job 10 years ago, and my worldview in high school was pretty bleak while everyone was telling me I had to go to college and live in a corporate world. I'm thankful for this, but I also view it with some humor. In most other lives, I'd be a agnostic.
I'm glad I don't have to work. I'm glad I'm not part of the corporate world. Now, watch me on the largest video platform in the world, owned by one of the largest technology firms in the world. What a fucking... I hate these people.
Here we go. We're about to learn why people hate nerds.
I'd be a peasant, maybe a Bengali, pretty bleak, while everyone was telling me I had to go to college and live in a corporate world. I'm thankful for this, but I also view it with some humor. In most other lives, I'd be a peasant, maybe a Bengali prostitute, maybe a medieval nobleman. We all play parts we can't control. You can either
Boy, you really liked that. What if all this was almost a Bengali prostitute?
Feel the complete horror of death rush upon you, or accept it and have
strapping lad like that would fetch a pretty penny. The streets of Bengal.
Well,
some fun
this shit doesn't work when you have to yell it on a fucking soapbox. Like, no one's gonna listen to this garbage.
Okay, this is why people hate nerds. The negative nerd stereotype is of a guy is the negative nerd stereotype is of a guy is actually pretty effeminate and hides his weakness behind a sense of intellectual superiority. He eschews responsibility, kindness, good humor, and courage since he's too smart for it. I hate it when nerds look down on other groups in society for not being intellectual when society doesn't need everyone to be intellectual. There are also those flexible people in South Africa, of course. It's a compensation for how the nerds realize they are really useless. This is Reddit personified and why it is a black hole of envy, no period there.
I would just very quickly say, as an actual nerd, I will tell you you're not one. Don't worry, Whatifalthist. You've put in no work to learn things or to be smart. You've put in no effort. You've put in very little time. It's clear you don't actually spend time critically reading anything. The idea that you would even proffer the idea that you could possibly be an intellectual, which is what he's saying here, that he is an intellectual and he's good enough to not necessarily judge others, is just a height of arrogant bullshit that is kind of stunning to me.
He is the most aggressive ad campaign that Grammarly has ever run.
Yeah.
Stuck up, smug, and not fun are people where the pain of life is too heavy for them, and thus they hold themselves behind rigid patterns and their status, and thus trying to break that apart terrifies them, since it shows them mortality and how chaotic the world is. I can't deal with people who don't have senses of humor, and a sense of status and recognition by being respected by the group makes death easier to deal with. If your community tells you that your life is worth
Those thoughts are
That is not
related to
true
each
at
other.
all. That is just not true at all. The number of incredibly famous people who've cried like babies before their death is insane. Like, what does he think? Game of Thrones is how the world works?
Well, they all cried before their deaths in Game of Thrones, too.
All right, touche. Then something shittier than Game of Thrones, you're free to pick out what that might be. I can't.
Okay, but so this threw me for a loop, though. So,
since it shows them mortality and how chaotic the world is.
okay, there's two thoughts here that have no relation to each other, but he says them one after the next in quick succession.
I can't deal with people who don't have senses of humor, and a sense of status and recognition by being respected by the group makes death easier to deal with.
I can't respect people who don't have senses of humor, and a sense of status and recognition by the group makes death easier to deal with.
Yeah, he's just jumbling shit together. There's no point.
Okay.
Yeah, his words
If
are
your
meaningless.
community
But there wasn't a cut there, which means that was
No,
just
he's
a
a
sentence. That was just insane.
Fascists don't care. Do you want me to get Sard out again? I'll get Sard out again.
Fascists can still write coherent sentences. This is like...
No.
This is like... I am the
Never believe that the anti-Semites are completely unaware of the absurdity of their replies.
No. Hang on. Wait. No. What you're talking about is fascism. This is brain damage. So what he...
There's no difference.
So what... whatever. I can't.
What? Oh, no, please. This is more interesting.
Okay, so, like, I am John Batman and I am a lawyer. Also, I like ice cream and I hate the dog that lives next door. That was the structure of the sentence.
Yes, but he's gesturing at fascistic totalitarian tendencies. Yeah, 100%.
tells you that your life is worthwhile, it allows you to believe that your life is worthwhile. However, the negative side of this is that humiliating and degrading others often increases someone's self-estimation by implicitly moving themselves up the status hierarchy. The joy in life comes from playing a role with some pageantry and silliness thrown in. There's a book called Homo Ludens saying humans are fundamentally players and jokers, and I agree. People get identity from fulfilling their roles. Having fun in games makes life worth living.
No. Don't do that.
I'm telling you.
You stay away from Homo Ludens.
I'm telling you. He looked it up on Amazon. He looked at the look inside thing, and he read the back cover or whatever was available. That's it. He read the covers of these
the idea
books.
that they're players. He's got this. I mean, so I'm going to agree with you for sure. because he calls it players as if it's actors in a play. Players. That is 100% not what Homo Ludens is. It's about play, as in activity, sport, discovery, free form, connection, the nature of play within society. It's not, there's part of that, but it's not that man is players. It's a really phenomenal book. Yes. It's one of the more important books personally for me.
Worth
So
looking
it's
at.
kind of like really upsetting to see it taken like this, especially in service of something that is decidedly fascist.
Life is hard and death is scary, and we like the people who can bring some joy into it. In the scariest and most dangerous parts of life, we also like pageantry. People dress up for war and love and develop rituals for dealing with the scariest parts of the universe or religion. This is the origin of culture, rituals, and symbols. One of the most beautiful things about death, which
This is the origin. Please go back. I want to rehear this because this is utter nonsense, but this is great.
religion. This is the origin of culture, rituals, and symbols. Develop rituals for dealing with the scariest parts of the universe or religion. This is the origin of culture, rituals, and
Love it.
symbols.
Love it. That just is absolute nonsense.
Well, it's incoherent because he's presuming that there would be a conception of these things in advance because they were developed as a tool for. He's like, oh shit! I saw Uglug over there get eaten by a mammoth, and I'm
Love
feeling
it.
really anxious about it now.
I
Oh,
love
well,
it. This is great.
What if we wore funny hats and pretended there is big man in sky?
One of the most beautiful things about death, which Marcus Aurelius said, is that it's an equalizer. The only similarity between a slave in the fields and Alexander is that they both die. From their deaths, you can judge their lives equally in some ways. One of the beautiful things about death is that I gave a bunch of different ways you can try to beat death and get some immortality, and it doesn't matter which one you pick as long as if you're satisfied with how well you did.
What?
What?
What did he just fucking say?
Bunch of different ways you can try to
Hang on. So one of the good things about death
Fields and Alexander is that they both die. From their deaths, you can judge their lives equally in some ways. One of the beautiful things about death is that I gave a bunch of different ways you can try to beat death and get some
one of the beautiful things about death is that I gave a bunch of ways you can beat death.
Immortality, and it doesn't matter which one you pick as long as if you're satisfied with how well.
As long as if you're. Is he having a stroke?
Fascism, man. Never even once. Also, don't be a fascist and fucking do trippy drugs. Apparently you go to hell, and you deserve it.
You did. For a second, just imagine how unbearable a society would be if the rich lived forever and the poor did not. And that is why death is an equalizer.
No, because the rich still outlive the poor.
By a lot, actually.
By a lot.
Actually, it's one of the really fascinating things is if you normalize for income in every country, it's really bad. But America, it's a 20-year difference. 20-year difference between the bottom 5% and the top 5%. Some crazy. It was
the level of like
5 years.
The correlation between
20 years for that difference.
Yeah,
it's wild.
The correlation between poverty and premature death is determinative almost.
What's also funny is our rich people don't live as long as other countries' rich people because we even suck at capitalism.
Depends on who you're talking about, but yeah.
One of the ways to deal with death is just to accept it and laugh along. Think of how the brave 300 who faced the Persian army, Socrates willingly drinking hemlock poison that killed himself, or Jesus dying on the cross.
All famous for laughing throughout these ordeals.
We rightly make these figures the heights of heroism and remember their stories. Jordan Peterson in his book Maps of Meaning, which I think is by far his best and most profound, although it's pretty long.
I would agree with that, but I have a different standard. It's better than all of his other shit.
It's anything pre benzos is gonna be better.
Anything that's not organized into 12 things.
And posted on Quora.
Talks about the 4 strategies humans use to deal with death. There are 3 incorrect ways, those being totalitarianism, hedonism, and nihilism, and 1 correct, that being heroism. All the negative strategies are necessary in moderation, but when used to fill the whole of life, turn cancerous. Totalitarianism stems from being so terrified of death that you give the group complete control over your life.
I don't think that's what really motivated these people.
Not at all.
Just going out on a limb there. I think there's probably something a bit more complex going on.
Political radicalism is a cancer that expands over your soul that prevents you from actually seeing the world for yourself. People naturally need to believe in something and identify with a group, but you can't surrender your...
Okay, so the reason for Nazi Germany is that the Nazis just feared death, so they're literally Voldemort.
Your complete identity as an individual.
Look at this graph.
I like Destiny down here in the bottom left.
This is where the NPC meme comes from. For those that don't know, an NPC is non-player character in a video game. It's a character with a small amount of...
It actually comes from role-playing games on pen and paper. It predates video games.
pre-programmed response.
Or it predates.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
That's, yeah, but I'm
It's fine. Let the kids have their digital games.
That the main character deals with. Totalitarians absolve responsibility to the group, so their souls are eaten inside out. This is why totalitarian...
I don't know, man.
always fails across history and every single guise, in that it's designed to be an attempt to escape making critical, hard choices.
No, it's not. It's in fact, it's, even among reactionaries, one of its major advantages is precisely that it simplifies the issue of making choices. That's kind of the whole point. It's the decision is completely concentrated in one individual or one tiny body of individuals with no recourse.
This makes the
This is getting worse.
Totalitarians' actions a desperate attempt to maintain psychological stability, which means they push too far and then self-implode.
No, it's because they were bad at running the state. It's not because they were self-imploding. Hitler didn't blow his brains out until after he was hiding in a bunker because the Russians had at his door.
A collection of people all trying to do this turns the whole movement into a toxic, irrational hurricane. People are at their worst in a mob. The West's immense success, as covered in these videos...
Yeah, Lenin wasn't in a mob either. Lenin's whole thing was he was part...
Oh, God, that's just... That's terrible.
He thinks Lenin is like he thinks Lenin's famous for going out into public and sort of driving up mobs. That's actually the opposite of what Lenin did. What Lenin was terrified of the mob. Lenin's whole thing was you have a highly cloistered hierarchical structure that is insulated from the mob, so it can maintain sort of a purity of purpose and organizational form. That's the whole point of Lenin.
In many ways stems from doing more to liberate the individual from the group, while at the same time being able to maintain moral standards. The second strategy is Epicureanism and hedonism.
Represented by a healthy part of a balanced breakfast.
Same as before, pleasure in small amounts makes life worth living. However, pure pleasure becomes an addiction, which is the
also a healthy part of a balanced breakfast. There's nothing wrong with this.
Coolest thing in the world. We see this today where we have the best food, drink, porn, entertainment, and until recently,
we have the best porn,
sex, and about everything.
Wait, what? Hang on.
I'm having great sex. I mean,
okay, well,
really?
Well, not everyone is so blessed as you, Brooks. I'm sorry.
I mean, everyone should be able to fuck, but like, sex is still fine.
Sex needs to be abolished as swiftly as possible. It is the peak human evil.
world. We see this today where we have the best food, drink, porn, entertainment, and until recently sex, and about everything else available in history, but it just makes us more miserable. Think of sugar, which in moderation tastes wonderful, but when it becomes a habit, is an addiction that can ruin your health. In the single moment of pleasure, the Epicurean can be entranced by its intensity, thus forgetting death. We drink since it helps us forget.
I eat sugary cereal to forget death. That is why I do so.
Yeah, there was no. I mean, this is just stupid. This is just
The stress of the rest.
stupid. This is so fucking stupid.
Look,
this is
Brooks,
so fucking goddamn stupid,
Brooks,
dude.
if-
This is so fucking stupid.
If Chad is correct, if sex didn't exist, we wouldn't have Hitler. Think about that.
So only anal?
It's for the greater good.
Of our day. However, with too much, it becomes a new baseline and your life becomes a hedonic treadmill of purely trying to avoid
Hedonic Treadmill is also a good band name.
thinking about
That's a really
anything
good name.
bigger when the addiction wears off. Degeneracy literally results in degenerating, in
I would
which
say degeneracy, but that's all most certainly been taken.
you lose your potential and good qualities in the search for fleeting pleasures. Over the historic record, hedonism
Fleeting pleasures of interpretive dance in your room by yourself without a shirt.
No, homos.
Oh, gotcha. Haha.
based societies lose everything that makes life in the long term worthwhile, like family, shared community, strong nation, religion, and everything else that extends beyond our puny deaths. After this comes nihilism, one that I can personally identify with, and a big reason I started this YouTube channel is I just wanted.
Say that one more time.
I like that. That was great.
that
This
hit.
was that hit. That's fire right there. That transition, that's fire.
That makes life in the long term worthwhile, like family, shared community, strong nation, religion, and everything else that extends beyond our puny deaths. After this comes nihilism, one that I can personally identify with, and a big reason I started this YouTube channel is I just wanted something that I could look at and be proud of that I brought into the world. Nihilism starts with the implicit belief.
Didn't he start this channel when he was like 13?
Yeah, nihilism. Yeah,
I think you might have had a weird childhood, Rudyard.
people who are into nihilism aren't interested in creating things to look at because they like it.
Well, the whole...
Just-
I think by nihilism he means depression.
Oh, fuck you. You're probably right. God damn it.
Like, I think he means, oh, it was really dreary, so I made videos about what if dinosaurs didn't exist. That's...
They're nihilists, Donnie.
Belief that if you
Like, this video is nihilism.
have low expectations,
No. This is Dadaism.
That's insulting.
that's safer. However, we humans can't make rational leaps like that and then expect our actual minds to follow. Low expectations just turn into hatred of life itself for not supplying us with what we need. The final extension
Low expectations turn into hatred of life itself for not supplying us with what we need.
What society thinks I look like, the amazing atheist, how I actually look is black man at McDonald's. I feel this. This is my vibes. What my family thinks I look like, Midsummer. What I think I look like, Patriot. Yeah, I mean these are good vibes.
I mean, I kind of wish I was the guy at McDonald's, to be honest. Go for a quarter pounder right now.
I have a deeply idealized view of McDonald's that I know it will never live up to because I went when I was a kid and I loved it. And that's I want to have the McDonald's from my brain.
Well, I feel like when we were kids, they were paid slightly better sometimes, and they were cleaner. I feel like they've kind of let themselves go in the last 20 years.
This is fucking stupid. What weeaboos think I look like? What the fuck? This is so dumb, it's unbelievable.
of nihilism is an active hatred of everything, not the passive apathy that most nihilists claim. This is how you get school shooters or Nazis.
People like
Nope,
to blame school.
it is not, by the way, just letting you know, that is not the case. I will let you know a little bit about that. Nope.
well, let me read. People like to blame school shooters on guns. That's partially true, given that school shooters need guns, but it's also not, given Americans have owned large amounts of guns for their whole history, and school shooters are a very recent phenomena. Concentrated where? Anyways, they started in the 70s and then took off in the 2000s.
Well, I mean, that's Bowling for Columbine. Everyone gets it wrong. They think it's this anti-gun movie. It's not. When we're making it, the whole point of that goddamn movie was about why America. Like, everywhere has guns. Why is America at this time unique? What is wrong with us? And trying to examine that, and how no one will talk about that. The funny thing is, the critics refused to talk about it, and it became an anti-gun movie. It's a very good film. Go back and look. It's a good time.
I watched it.
You might even recognize me in it a couple times.
You can Oh, fuck, that was you.
I was I meant the strike that opens up the movie is actually me. Also, it's a fun story.
I knew there was. Well, I've seen footage of you from back then, but I didn't realize you were actually in the beginning of that. That's really weird.
Yeah, I was also in the Kmart scene and a few other scenes.
Huh. You didn't have the beard. That's why it throws me off.
Oh no, I was completely clean shaven. I had no hair at all. I shaved everything off, like big down to the bottom.
The beard was a good move.
I'm a fan. I have a weak chin, and it's a way to hide it. If you want a good book, so here's the thing. This is bullshit. I'll let you finish it in a second. I will claim authority on this. This is all bullshit. Good book to read on it is actually Going Postal. Mark Ames wrote it. He was a writer for The Exiled. Wonderful left, a real materialist analysis of it, and gives the explanations of why rage shootings became a thing in the United States and how it transferred to the youth and how it became a thing. Because school shootings are not special. Rage shootings are what we should be looking at, and he does a very good job arguing that.
Okay. Well, let's read this. So, I'll give that a look, actually. I'm grabbing that on LibGen right now. But it's also not given Americans. They started in the 70s and then took off in the 2000s. You can correlate it with a bunch of things that follow the exact same trajectory, whether decline in religion, communities, friendships, sexual relationships. Decline in sexual relationships in the 70s.
I mean, all of them, the vast majority are in deeply religious communities and religious families very often, actually. The communities around them are tight-knit, but actually socially exclusionary. You tend to find them in areas that have high ratios of we'll say income inequality or odd displacement in that way. Vast majority of school shooters do have a small circle of friends, but they don't see themselves as having friends at large. They may or may not have had sexual relationships. Many were just too young to even be in that position. But others, they may have had that or not. It's actually a driving factor that they kind of have that incel mentality. Average wages is insane. Not every school shooter is poor. Most are not, actually. Rise in income inequality is a driving factor. Again, Mark Ames goes all these into this. It's
here's the problem, though. Okay, here's the problem. Fine, but he's not talking about the school shooters. He's saying that this is the societal condition that produces them. And
correct.
So he says sexual relationships declining. Okay.
Yeah, partly I think it's so the managerial class can disarm the population to engineer and oppress more eagerly. Armed populations are never tyrannies. That's a very stupid thing.
Well, I don't think the managerial class is going to be Jews. The managerial class, what this is going to be is, are you familiar with, oh shoot, what's his name? It's on the tip of my tongue. James Burnham.
I have no idea.
Okay, he's a sort of thin Weberian type.
So Jews.
Wrote no, not exactly. So he wrote a book, the
Close enough.
Revolution and the Machiavellians. No, it translates well though, which is why he's seen a bit of a renaissance recently, or resurgence rather. Although when he says, actually, partly I think it's so the managerial class can disarm the population to engineer and oppress it more easily. You're probably not too far off. I don't think Rudyard though is a self-aware anti-Semite.
No, but he's also not a self-aware fascist either. He's not self-aware very much at all.
People turn vengeful to make the things that rejected them pay attention to them somehow. Humiliation results in turning against the previous hierarchy so that you could possibly destroy it and create a new one.
Which is why school shooters are radical revolutionaries and not people who go and shoot kids in schools.
Nihilism proves the...
Oh, Mumford!
That's a whole other discussion.
Mumford, we're going up here. That's a reference I didn't expect to see on a
Lewis Mumford writes about how people's mental models are built off their daily lives. Christianity uses agricultural imagery and shamanism, the language of hunting. The point he makes is that our worldview in the industrial world is built off machines, and we externalize the machine's logic to places where it doesn't make sense. We view humans, society, even God, at points as a machine. Well, in reality, they are living, breathing things. Really, God and society breathe? The biggest philosophic breakthroughs I've made in the last year is the realization that ideas, societies, and civilizations are living things with their own internal logic, even if they are not sentient. Once you realize that everything, including nature itself, is alive, it completely changes how you associate with it. That's
so what does that mean, though? Like, there's literally no condition on being alive, then. Like, just being alive means literally nothing. Most of nature is, like, empty space and rock. Even the rock's a big minority of it.
It's terrible. This is terrible.
It's not rock. So what would the majority of matter in the universe be? Because I guess you would include empty space in nature. It's still a property of the universe. Or thing. Or I don't know, a feature. But
it's gross.
Space is gross, I agree.
No, just this idea that we see all this as a machine. I don't understand what he's talking about. It says,
well, it sounds an awful lot like the first chapter of Anti-Oedipus, but...
Well, no, actually. God, I hope not. God, I hope. You know what? It probably is.
Like the thing it's parodying.
Yeah, I mean, just the idea that, like, God is a living, breathing thing. How? What?
Well...
What does that even make sense, you fucking weirdo?
Well, it might, like, I don't know, like a Spengler type thing, if you sort of...
Are rocks alive?
Well, communities aren't alive. There's not an organism between them, and he points this out here. The problem here is there's no conditions on actually being alive at this point, so saying something's alive has absolutely no content.
No, but again, so the fascist side of this is saying that everything has its own internal logic, its own way it ought to be operating or way it needs to operate. It's a appeal towards a hyper-paranoiac view of things, that there is a nature to things and we can't step us outside of that we need to get back to that. This is fascism. I mean, don't be mistaken. He is 100% a fascist.
I don't know, man. I feel like Hitler was more coherent than this.
Have you read Mein Kampf?
I have, as a matter of fact. It's actually down here. It's very boring.
Yes. The coherent?
Well, the sentence...
There's a wonderful book called The Poetics of Mein Kampf.
Look, no, the thoughts aren't coherent, but the sentence structure is.
It's one of my favorite books on it, Poetics of Mein Kampf, and it's less about the book itself and more an analysis of how it was written and for who.
I was about to hold up Mein Kampf on stream, and I decided that was unwise.
Oh, that's probably fair.
Yeah.
Belief in ego and soul. If we were purely creatures and mechanical things based off Darwinistic selection, suicide would never happen. However...
That's stupid.
Okay.
With us as real creatures with feelings and hearts, sometimes life gets too hard and the ego falls apart.
Feelings and hearts.
Trauma and the Soul. This is a book that makes an interesting argument that implicit in the idea of trauma, you have to accept there is a soul. Oh, fuck right off. That can't be right. That can't be right. From Routledge, that can't fucking be right. I'm going to refuse that.
Well, it's absurd on its face. Like, a major part of most Christian belief is precisely that your soul is actually separate from your emotions and things of that sort, which is why you're in like a constant
If I type trauma
against...
and the soul, the third link is anonymous on the reptilian Illuminati. I'm not sure I want to go down this fucking rabbit hole now.
I kind of want to go down that rabbit hole. And that something has to get hurt and desire unity and healing, and that there has to be a unified mental force in a person The author, who was a Jungian trauma therapist for decades, that once... It's not a coherent sentence. The author, who was a Jungian trauma therapist for decades, that once you cannot integrate your personality...
No, so he's saying the author says that once you cannot integrate your personality, it splits apart and leads to hatred of life. Which is that's an old Jung thing, but that's also, I mean, that's a Freud thing too, depending on how you want to look at death drives and the pleasure principle and et cetera.
Okay, but if you do unify your personality, you are good. Thus showing how that very easily lends to religion. The patient's dreams correspond to this spiritual reality. Thank you for that.
Part. We have naturally ingrained expectations like love, food, reproduction.
All right, just so you know, real quick,
beauty and safety.
Yeah.
Just going over this guy, there is no demand that there is a soul. Just so you know, like he means the Jungian center.
There's no
soul.
way in hell he has read any of these people.
I know.
And it must be like semi-decent. It's published by Routledge. They generally don't publish crap.
I mean, it's Jung, so it's crap.
Yeah, but it's in a crap tradition or whatever based upon like your standpoint. But like, there's some minimal degree of rigor here. He's not just making shit up, right?
I mean, he's Jung, so maybe.
No, but
no, I get your point. I'm just
no.
Dick,
but
sorry.
he's not Jung. So this Donald Kalshed person, like he probably is developing Jung. That's
correct.
Yeah.
Well, no. I mean, he's explaining Jung through the way trauma works through dismemberment and rememberment and other elements like that, which is fine. But it's again, whatever. And I'm not a fan of Jung for a lot of reasons.
Make life very hard, often nearly unbearable. The final way is heroism. Heroes take many forms, and just looking at stories, you can see everything between Cinderella, Hercules, Jack the Giant Slayer, Moses, the Little Mermaid, or Atalanta. The only thing they share is they took risks to do something worthwhile with their lives.
Jesus Christ.
What risks did Cinderella take? She basically just got a free ticket to become rich.
Let's also be fair. Hey, a character in a story took a risk. So what's the opposite? Like the characters who decided, oh, well, I'm going to work at Walmart. Like those are not like, that's the story. Story is about risk, right? Story is about risk, and especially stories of heroes. There's a lot he's insisting on his thing here. This is all fucking Campbell bullshit.
This is the way of heroism, of taking responsibility for your own life to do the greatest thing possible. The way of heroism isn't easy. The responsibility is very difficult, but once you realize all the other options don't really work.
Oren mentioned Jack the Giant Slayer, the hero who breaks into someone else's house, steals shit, the most valuable thing, and then leaves and murders the person as he's being chased. That's Jack the Giant Killer, right?
Yep.
So, good job.
Yep. So, I mean, could have just called this video in praise of looting, I suppose.
Work. You have to take it up. Think of Moses, who didn't want to do God's mission, but reluctantly did so, since he knew he could not bear a life without serving. And when one...
That's not what happened.
That's not at all what happened.
He killed a Roman slave driver, and then fled. And then he had a vision in the desert, and then he did weird stuff because he was told to do stuff by a scary voice in the...
Probably because he took the same fucking drugs Whatifalthist took.
A lot of weed.
One in which his people were in bondage. However, the other personalities hate the hero since he is the symbol of everything they lack. This is why people hate Elon Musk, why the...
Oh.
Got to get that Daddy Musk cock right in there. Got to make sure Daddy Musk knows he's a good boy.
Picture of Moses. This is why they envy Elon Musk.
Successful are always envied, or why Jesus was crucified on the cross.
Oh my God.
Oh, I do not regret watching
Jesus, Elon Musk, and Moses. I mean, they're basically the same thing.
I don't know, man. That middle one. It's kind of.
He's probably more of a savior, actually.
Probably just a little bit, yeah.
We'll get to this point later in this video, but our society is simultaneously pushing all three of the other strategies against the hero.
Against the hero. Please bring up John Galt.
Elon Musk versus nihilism.
Oh my God.
The greatest failing of our society is our inability to deal with death. This channel goes through so many of
Thought it was global warming.
society's failings, but I think this is the fundamentally worst and most primal one. I believe that every other failing in our society stems from it in some regard. Let's look through each of the ways you can positively deal with death. Our birth rate's not sustainable. The intact family is completely broke down in our society.
We know this isn't true. It's propaganda. We know it's not true. I'm not going to go into it. Fuck you if you care. It's bullshit. It's all lies. He's just lying. He's now lying.
Okay, but also.
Look at this graph.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn the volume down that a little bit.
Lowest religiosity rates ever in history. The average person has no pride and is an anonymous drone. We don't have any pageantry where we all wear the same t-shirts, live in boxes in apartment buildings, and we work for giant corporations that don't care about us at all.
The average person is an anonymous drone. You're all drones with your matching t-shirts and your square buildings working for corporations.
We're actively trying to destroy our own culture and society.
Just as a picture, the first multiracial picture in the video.
There's probably even lesbians in the photo. Let's be fair. Lesbians and the homosexuals are probably in there. There may be a trans person in there as well, just ruining everything.
They could.
Now, I can't tell the difference between them and anything else, of course, but I'm certain that there is.
We don't really have any ways to play between people in real life, and we don't even let kids play outside or have recess anymore. At the same time, your average person is
That part's true. But, I mean, what do you expect when you fucking starve the entirety of American education for fucking shitty private school garbage fucking voucher programs and you ruin everything, you pieces of shit. Sorry. My son's 5.5 age. He would be going to school, and it's been horrifying to kind of go through learning what that would be.
Yeah.
So, a little upset.
Yeah.
Friends than ever and no community at all. Our culture actively encourages Epicureanism, nihilism, and totalitarianism.
Protecting our democracy. Say no to racism. Ban the
Look at these
wall.
pieces of shit.
God, look at these.
Look at these
this
garbage humans.
Undisciplined, hedonistic rabble that is just having an orgy in the street in broad daylight.
What a bunch of bastards. Like, God, say no to racism. Fuck you. Gross.
Totalitarianism while hating heroism. The left has become a cult that runs almost all of society's institutions.
Heroes know their place and sit at home and don't protest.
Or they do January 6th.
Yeah, but did you see them in January 6th? They were like,
Yeah,
walking
I did.
single file like kids at a...
The most impotent people ever. It's so great.
Once they got, like, it was violent outside, and whenever they hit the police, when they got inside, they're just kind of like walking around like tourists.
I use January 6th and the Floyd riots as kind of examples often when I'm talking about, because Deleuze and Guattari and Anti-Oedipus talk about the difference between our class understanding and investments and our desire, and how those two don't match up, and when they do, where they go and how they work. Really useful descriptions.
Well, you gotta think about it. Like, so they break in. They never had any notion that they were even going to get in the building. They get in. This guy gets in. He's walking around just confused.
Staying inside of the velvet ropes.
What do I do here?
You burn it down.
Do I shit on the desk?
I mean, you burn it down.
But that's literally what the guy chose to do. He was probably like a little nervous for a little while, looking around. It's like, do I do it or not? And the notion must have come to him at some point. I'm in Nancy Pelosi's
but he
office. What do I do?
he had to shit on a specific desk. And even then, he didn't destroy the office because to him, the structure of everything that is actually repressing him and actually destroying him is the thing he cares most about.
Well, as if to illustrate, for him shitting on the desk to matter, he has to assume that Nancy Pelosi is going to go back to the desk afterwards.
Yeah.
Our culture pushes a culture of hedonism through advertising and commercialism and gives no value or community for people to believe in. So
That is fucking horrific.
That's pretty cool. I like that.
Of course you like that. That's just nightmare fuel. I'm glad I ate already.
nihilism ends up filling the void. Heroism is considered toxic masculinity. We are a gaping, oozing hole
No,
of
it's not.
lack of the ability.
It's not. It's not considered toxic masculinity at all. We have heroes all the time, you piece of shit. Go ahead, sorry.
To
I'm just
deal
going to
with
say
death, which is
you're a piece of shit, and then I won't say it again. So now you can just go. Just
Well,
assume I'm
I
saying
mean,
it all
like,
the time.
Even, I mean, weirdly, there are elements of it, but weirdly, I think things like popular film and whatnot are some of the best examples of not toxic masculinity. You have, Lawrence of Arabia, for God's sake. You have a tearful, emoting, empathetic human being who's like enjoying himself and isn't like trying to be like a violent grug. Like it's like a
Wayman
trope almost.
in Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Wayman's character is
Yeah.
the example, the crown example in my mind of I don't want to say non-toxic masculinity. I would just say healthy masculinity. It's a portrayal of, I think, parts of what masculinity can mean and a take on that I found powerful and amazing. But I would say, like,
I take your point to a point. One of the things that frustrated me is that
you don't want to go down the road of talking about this movie with me.
okay, fair enough.
We can sometime. I would love to.
We should.
Go ahead, say your thing. Say your thing. It's your stream. I
I
shouldn't
guess
stop you from talking.
well, just apropos of this, I think like what he would probably be unsatisfied by is the fact that he's Asian. But what I would be unsatisfied by is that they made it solely into a weakness that was only rendered into a strength by the needs of the plot to wrap itself up. And so on a superficial level, one of the things that bugged me is that his attitudes was not attended by any strength to be sort of independent and to carry out anything in the world by himself. So he ended up basically just being a burden on the people around him. That kind of bothered me a little bit.
Not true.
Not true for most of the movie until the end when you have the violent action scenes and whatnot.
And what did he do?
I think he can't remember exactly. I think he cried a lot about being kind or something. But
I mean, that's kind of an important moment.
It is. But
during the fights and everything, where he explained to her that
yes,
the way that he deals with the world, I could be a cynic, I could hate the world, I could fight, but instead he comes at it with love, and he comes at it with giving, and he comes there to support everyone around him.
Yes,
and that's when she has the breakthrough that instead of going at the person and treating things as you're against me, therefore I'm against you, instead counteractualizing the person's behaviors and giving them a secondary adjustment to allow their desire to pass into secondary pathways.
Which I agree, and I like that about it. The reason why it frustrates me is because the genre of the film itself slightly undermines it and I said superficial for a reason, at a superficial level, because
what is the genre?
It's a few different things slapped together. If you're an idiot, it's a fun action movie with comedic elements.
I would love to meet the person who thinks it's a fun action movie.
There are 9-year-old kids who watched this and were very confused. Okay,
there's no 9-year-old children who watched this movie.
Are you sure?
It's not nearly exciting enough.
Okay, you're right about that. That's fair. Hot Dog
It's an exceptionally powerful film about how we actually learn to develop our own meaning.
Oh, it was very good. No, I agree with you. But
and Wayman specifically plays the, and it's almost intentional, playing the very traditional role of the Asian man who's submissive and quiet and kind of dorky and feminine. They're generally placed in sort of a feminine position in a lot of movies, especially in the West.
no, it's the guy from
It's Short Round.
Invasion of, I was going to say Invasion of the Body Snatchers, actually. Short Round's not submissive. What are you talking about? Wait,
He is Short Round.
Short Round. Oh,
The actor was Short Round.
Oh. Wow, really?
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, okay. That actually does check out.
Yeah. And also the kid from the Goonies. Yeah, he was the Asian kid, like from all of the movies when I was growing up. But the thing is, and it's when he's in that alley and he says, people take my kindness as a weakness, but it's not. It's my strength. It's powerful commentary on what traditionally we see as combative masculinity versus strength.
It is, but they put him into fight scenes.
No, they didn't.
No, they put him. No, they put
didn't.
him.
They didn't.
Put him.
You're wrong. They put a different version of him into fight scenes. Specifically, Alphaverse Waymond.
Yes,
Alphaverse, which is a specific name for that on purpose.
I agree. But the reason why I'm highlighting this though is that if Alphaverse Waymond wasn't in those situations, normal Waymond would die.
No.
Yeah, because he knows karate and
You don't know that. You're presuming cause and effect, and quite literally, the movie is about understanding that doesn't
fuck,
exist.
you're right. Okay, whatever. Fine, you win. Just press on.
Has turned our society suicidal. The problem is that the vision of reality and humanity our culture is built off is...
I also have to rewatch.
That was just such a better discussion than anything I've seen in this garbage video from this piece of shit human being.
What am I looking at here? What is this? It's like a ring
I don't know.
It's like a ring of cloud with a sun in it.
Something you found in the
laundry. I think it's an
You
illustration.
pulled the laundry lint out and set it on fire.
I think it's an illustration of a birth of a star from a nebula.
Just wrong. We had a blank slate, or that people can be programmed by their societies to believe and enjoy anything they're told to. However, the reality is that we're animals programmed from birth for certain circumstances who need things to believe in to nourish our souls.
I got nothing. I'm just gonna let him go.
With every element in our society, it was designed to please our baser desires like wealth and comfort, but totally ignored our higher ones like love, meaning, belonging, and truth. Once you realize how flawed the material view of life is, it suddenly makes you realize how people who lived much materially worse lives than us were able to thrive for thousands of years. The Indian peasant didn't have our comfort, but they did have family, community, religion, culture, and some kinds of play. They also didn't know what they were missing materially.
Yeah, they did. Did they think that before British occupation? Are you still there, Brooks? Did I lose you? Oh, hang on. What happened here? We've lost Brooks. Is the stream still up? Oh, looks like the stream's still up. Brooks, where'd you go? Did he say he was getting something and I completely missed it because I'm, like, borderline asleep? Huh. Alright, I'm not hearing back from him. Oh, there you are.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. What happened?
I had my wife came down. I was being apparently a little loud.
Oof,
It's
sorry
fine.
about that. All right, let's press on. Let's finish this.
Did I miss anything profound?
Indian people didn't understand what they were missing until British occupation built giant palaces in India. They had their tribes and they were happy.
I don't think you're being sarcastic.
I'm not.
That's the problem.
I'm not. Here, see for yourself.
But they did have family. The material view of life is, it suddenly makes you realize how people who lived much materially worse lives than us were able to thrive for thousands of years. The Indian peasant didn't have our comfort, but they did have family, community, religion, culture, and some kinds of play. They also didn't.
Wow.
Some kinds of play.
I mean,
They must have had some kind of play in India.
but they didn't have our
Good luck.
culture. Like our fucking cool ass culture, dude.
I like how he's showing
Wow.
a picture of a woman with an aluminum pot. But whatever.
Didn't know what they were missing materially. I'm not saying that
Fairly certain. Never mind.
their lives were immeasurably better, but their culture was sustainable, and ours is falling apart at the seams only
Oh
decades after it was.
God. Really? Dude, visit India.
He's talking about, like, I would assume pre-occupation.
No. I don't think so.
Well, past tense.
Um,
Indian peasant had. He's not talking about peasants anymore, obviously.
No, back up like just
Okay.
to like 30 seconds.
But they did have family. Totally ignored our higher ones like love, meaning, belonging, and truth. Once you realize how flawed the material view of life is, it suddenly makes you realize how people who lived much materially worse lives than us were able to thrive for thousands of years. The Indian peasant didn't have our comfort, but they did have family, community, religion, culture, and some kinds of play.
It's past tense. I don't think.
Yeah, no, the next sentence.
They also didn't know what they were missing materially. I'm not saying that their lives were immeasurably better, but their culture was sustainable, and ours is falling apart at the seams only decades after it was founded.
It's a little bit weird to refer to a
He is
culture
saying their culture was sustainable. He's saying to now. He's speaking of it in the past tense. Through
I know.
now.
I'm realizing that's what I was about to say. It's like
It's a really
didn't-
ahistorical view of things. It's
it-
extraordinarily ahistorical.
this thing that didn't sustain was sustainable.
He's terrible. Every time, man. What's going on?
McGill
That's
Christ in his
wild.
book The Master and His Emissary talks about how we are divided between the right and left brain. The right brain's the emissary, and we can see the whole truth, consistently gets the correct answer when tested, and can see the world as a holistic whole, original, beautiful, and meaningful. The left
Well,
brain, meanwhile, believes itself to always be correct, but when tested is consistently wrong, and only capable of seeing half the truth. It views the world as boring, mechanical, meaningless, and constructs everything through logical systems, whether or not they're correct.
Okay, so just so everyone's aware, the right brain, left brain thing has been shown to be bullshit many times. It's the same people who still talk about it are the same people who think alphas in wolf packs are a real thing too. Basically, people who heard a thing on a news story and take it as fact because they're too stupid otherwise.
That's mean.
I mean, he's
You guess
dumb.
which
This
of
is a stupid person.
Systems dominates the world today. The left brain is completely terrified of death since it's out of our control. Thus, modern society is a conspiracy to totally avoid death.
Wait a minute. Hang on. Let me hear this one more time. I think I figured something out.
Guess which of these systems dominates the world today? The left brain is completely terrified of death since it's out of our control.
He thinks the left wing and the left brain are both the left for the same reason. I think that's what's going on here.
Thus, modern society is a conspiracy to totally avoid death.
Allergies are literally caused by not having enough contact with germs as a child, meaning your immune system attacks things it ought not to due to inexperience. For this reason, allergies tilt towards well-off families and skyrocketed from irrelevance recently. What?
All right, so it's called the hygiene hypothesis. It's the idea that in the Western world or developed countries for the last 30, 40, 50 years, we've had, antibacterial wipes and sprays and cleaning stuff and blah, blah, blah. And as such, children, newborns and young children, aren't exposed to microbes, allergens, and other things, which your body kind of needs in order to produce elements to counteract that or to get used to it or other things. There is correlation here. To say allergies are literally caused by not having enough contact with germs as a child is drastically overstating where the science is at on this. There literally is just really some correlative graphs of time. There's no understanding, as far as I'm aware, no actual understanding of if this works. And the time works.
Well, the problem is that all of these things are things that are also going to have other correlations too. I don't know if this is well respected or not. Like, it seems, I just don't know why he'd be saying it like this. Like, allergies are literally caused by, like, why not just say it is thought that allergies are caused, or is thought by some that allergies are caused by not having enough contact. Like, that's such an easy thing to do.
Well, and again, we don't really have good, it's one of those things that's kind of like tough because when we talk about this, we're talking about, hey, in the last 50 years in developed countries, hey, let's look back at all those undeveloped countries and the data they collected on allergens.
Like, doesn't that, even
kind
that,
of a little bit of survivor bias there.
Even that, like, Eric Berg dipshit who, like, spams bogus medical advice videos, like, you see stuff like that all over the place that talk about things like stress causing allergies, diet causing allergies, I don't know.
Again, he's just, this is some shit he saw on Joe Rogan and he's talked about it.
That's why I'm confused though, because like I don't see this as being like a frequent thing that's sort of spread about, largely because it's very difficult to sell a solution to it. So since he clearly did not do any research to produce this video, I don't know why he fixed on this theory of the murder, whatever, it doesn't matter.
We keep our societies so sterile they cause allergies. Most people never see death or birth until they have an actual kid, which is all kept in hospitals. The left's brain's untempered fear of death has polluted every level of our society, where parents are scared to let their kids play outside, and people are paralyzed by the infinitesimally small chance of a
Okay, so in Rudyard's ideal society, there will be more dead bodies in the streets.
Shark or terrorist attack. As I talk about in this video, we were ruled by the emotion anxiety today. This leads back to the beginning of the video. The reason young people today are incapable...
Why was there a shark there? There's just a shark.
Gonna eat you.
Beginning of the video.
It's a land shark? Candygram? Is that too old of a joke? Am I too old? Is anyone old enough to get the joke, the Candygram joke?
Candygram?
I am going to have my senior boomer moment right here. Candygram. I don't think it's a candygram. I think you're a shark. Really? No, nothing? Okay.
Oh, here we go. Oh, it's an SNL thing. Oh, that's weird.
We're going to see if anyone over the age of 40 is in your fucking chat right now.
Apparently not.
It's a good sketch. Brooks is old, that is correct.
Attack. As I talk about in this video, we were ruled by the emotion anxiety today. This leads back to the beginning of the video. The reason young people today are incapable of doing anything with confidence, whether making a phone call, having people disagree with them, being criticized, or saying they like someone else, is because our culture only cares about money and power, and thus death is completely unbearable because there are no techniques to deal with it. Death anxiety is crippling us, and we will continue to kill our society until we do something about it.
No.
Death anxiety is going to continue to kill our society, and we should worry about it.
It's amazing. What a child's view of things.
About it. As said before, all sweetness in life comes from death. The reason our society is completely incapable of making good art is our inability to come to terms with death. Modern story
Well, I'm pretty sure it's because people like painting. So they dedicate a lot of time to painting. So
That's
they got really good at it.
unbelievable.
It's like, oh shit, I'm gonna die. Better make this giant wall-sized naked man on a church.
stories have no stakes, originality, or beauty, since they don't come from a worldview with boundaries, as they are made by totalitarian, nihilistic Epicureans who hate heroism.
Nihilistic Epicurean who hates heroism equals
Is that
tapes banana to wall.
Is that Bacon? Is he? Doesn't matter. Shut up, Brooks.
Our culture is obsessed with technology, thinking it will save us from death. I'm sure lots of people in this audience think some breakthrough will magically extend their lifetimes to centuries. This is a false hope and has been seen wrong so many times in history by power-hungry emperors like Caligula or Qixi Huangdi.
Don't be like Qixi Huangdi, people. Don't do it.
Jesus Christ.
Don't be like that nasty, cowardly Qixi Huangdi.
However, our entire society today acts like a power-hungry tyrant. People think irrationally that life extensions, since it's entirely normal within human nature to do so.
Just like Qixi Huangdi.
The universe's first law of life is death. Its nature will do anything to stop us from beating death, thus rendering it impossible. At the same time, with the mass aging that's going to go on over the
mass aging?
Look at this graph.
They're making a live-action Moana. Did you know about that?
Disney makes live-action everything because that's how they maintain their trademark and control over stories that are public domain.
But Moana came out like less than 5 years ago, didn't it?
No.
Or no, Moana came out like 7 years ago. Hang on. Moana release. 2016. Yeah, 7 years ago. So it's like, but here's what weirds me out though. So I understand like the motive for like the cartoons because there is actually
no. I just googled this. No.
But here's the thing.
No, this is like made with AI.
But
there's no way this is real. There's no way I'm looking at something that's real. This is upsetting to me. This is like my kid's favorite fucking cartoon from Disney.
Here's the thing that confuses me. So, like...
Oh, God, Zendaya sucks. We've been cursed.
But, like, Moana, so you have a photorealistic CGI world with stylized main characters. But everything else is basically hyper-realistic. That's the technical achievement of that thing. They've made it... all the textures, all of the environments, everything, it's a little bit stylized, but it's all like conceivably real in terms of how it's presented to you. Like the water looks real, everything looks real. What is the purpose of making that live action when literally all you're going to do is the exact same thing, but with actors that will emphasize how artificial the background is?
Oh, this looks fucking terrible.
Like there's no reason for
you
this
need to pull
exist.
this up on stream, Brian. Can you just pull this up so people can understand how embarrassing this is? This is actually worse than I thought it was going to be. This is really horrifying.
Oh, well, goodbye monetization. Thank you for this, Brooks, yet again.
Oh, you can monetize. No one cares. Just don't fucking play the audio.
Well, I care. It doesn't work that way, unfortunately, but... okay.
It does. It does. Just I'm not going. Keep moving your mouse over it.
Oh my God! It's the. Oh, that's. Oh no.
That can't be real.
Wait.
Right?
There's no way in hell. Oh no, this is fake. Here's our teaser trailer concept for Walt Disney
Oh
Studios.
God. All right, good. This is garbage. Where is it then?
On the plus side, no demonetization. Let's see. Moana.
Where's the real one?
I don't think they've shown any of the stuff for it. I think it's just.
This is just unbelievable. What the fuck?
On June 13th, Johnson shared an exciting update on Instagram revealing the exact release date for the live-action version of Moana, and it's arriving in just 2 years. So we don't have a poster yet. We just have an announcement.
Fucking he sucks. Goddamn, he sucks. TK asked, Brooks, don't you work in games? Isn't the obsession with CG quality common in games? Yeah, there's a masterful, masturbatory nature to trying to make the prettiest, most realistic thing that everyone will then turn down to the lowest settings to get the highest frame rate if they actually want to play it. So, who cares?
Or they design games to be like Hogwarts Legacy, where so little happens on screen that they can handle the maximum.
Well, that's how it works. In order to have something that is overwhelmingly beautiful, it's going to cost you a fortune in art, which means that you have to get the best artists, which means you have to give them something to do that's more than just creating something that's a side showpiece. So it kind of becomes this nightmare cost structure of art outsourcing that ends up being incredibly underwhelming to anyone who's got half a brain.
The next few decades, we won't want to extend lifetimes without youths. Extending youth involves so many factors as to make it basically impossible. A lot of science thinks that after a certain point, your body just wants you to die, and will keep finding illnesses until you do so. Death gives life its dynamism.
Pretty sure your body isn't looking for illnesses. I'm pretty sure you just degenerate and then systemic problems sort of intersect and compound.
Imagine a society where your boss is a Victorian and it's another 50 years until he retires. The inability to deal with death comes through mental illness. Thus, it's
That's basically Dune, isn't it?
What?
That's basically Dune. Your boss
What is?
Your boss is Victorian, and it'll be 50 years till he retires. It's kind of
What?
because the Melage extends lifespans. Like Harkonnen's
Yeah,
like
but it also
84 when he dies.
it also turns you into a big worm.
I haven't gotten to that book yet.
Have you not seen the stories of the Spacer Guild?
I've literally just read book 1.
It's in book 1. Spacers. Well, no, it's fair
No,
enough.
they don't turn into the worms. It's like I don't think their physical appearance.
They describe the Spacer Guild.
Do they describe the navigators though in Dune 1? I can't remember that.
That's
pretty
why
sure
they put them in the movie.
Ugh, hang on. Wait a minute. Guild navigators. I ordered a hardcover as a prop for my Nomos of Dune video. This was really good, by the way.
Isn't it great?
I'm glad you bullied me into finishing it because it's one of those. It's. Oh, it's not in the. That's weird. Navigators under the terminology of the Imperium at the back. Anyways, it's. Having watched the movies, like the Lynch one. Having watched the movies, specifically the Lynch one, you don't get a lot
official
of
Dune encyclopedia.
Oh, you've got
Official
that?
one.
I've got a digital copy. That thing's like $600 online.
Yeah, unless you bought it a long time ago, it is.
Yeah.
Beautiful, perfect quality too.
This is also that's not the nice hardcover that you have. That's like hundreds of dollars for the worn out mass market paperback.
Yep.
It's crazy. Or you can just Google
been
it.
a fan for a long time. Sad nerd fan for a long time.
And seriously, fuck Brian Herbert for decanonizing.
It could be worse. He could have made the Dune movie.
Yeah, but he's the reason why it's out of print because he disavowed it in order to be able to shill.
It is
like his milk.
It is terrible.
Franchise endlessly. Yeah, I was reading about that the other day. I'm so mad about that because I wanted a copy, and he just can't
honestly. All the original Dune books are worth reading all the way through. I don't care what anyone says. They'd not make a good movie. I actually don't think Dune should have ever been made into a movie in the first place. But
I was thinking about that. Like so, and they show this in the trailer for part 2, like the big scene where he's dueling Feyd-Rautha. It's an encapsulation of the themes of the entire movie of book up to that point, and you can't get that because literally all you can show on the screen are 2 dudes fighting each other with knives. You can't show like the significance of everything going on, and it's just like it's a multi-page thing of a sequence that really should take a couple of seconds because you have all of the different like themes and sort of processes and whatnot that are competing with each other kind of crystallized into this moment, and you can't depict that well in a visual medium that way. Like you just end up. And like Lynch tried to. That's why he had like the endless voiceovers. He did it badly. like with the voiceover internal thoughts, like it's an anime or something. But even then, like you can't, like the most, it's kind of like Moby Dick. The most important parts of Moby Dick aren't crazy man wants to kill a whale. Most important parts of Moby Dick are the narrator going on these long, winding tangents, talking about like aspects of sailing and seamanship and whaling and making like analogies to things and sort of musing about things, and like the little stories in between, and the actual Ahab thing, like it's important, but it's not the centerpiece at all.
No.
Unless you're trying to make an action movie out of it, in which case all you got to work with is crazy man wants to kill a whale. Which is
that's
why
all it's
people
gonna
are
be.
bored by Moby Dick. Because that's all they know about.
It's genuinely awful. Like I'm just curious how they're gonna do stuff. Like, why would you stop? So they pause the movie. There's the worm. Cool. They pause. Then Paul rides it, and then 5 years pass. I want to say 4.5 years pass.
So it's 2 years. It's 2 years. I think it's 2 years.
No.
Yeah, because Baron Harkonnen is 81.
His sister is like 4.
You're right. Yeah, it has to be 4 years. It has to be exactly 4 years, actually, roughly.
4.5 ish, because she's not born yet.
No, you got me there. You're right, actually. Yeah. I'm trying to. Okay, so Harkonnen must have been 80 then. No, he must have been 81. I thought he died at like 83, but he was like 80.
I can't talk to you about things because of other books.
Okay, well,
like,
I'm starting Dune Messiah already, so I'll get there.
We'll find out. It's God, what a good series.
Yeah,
that Frank Herbert does write out his fetishes in later books.
Oh, thank you for the $10 Smith
for sure
for that comment. You're about to rob him, but I think it's funnier than that. 'Cause it's not just he's writing out his fetishes; he's writing out his woeful understanding of female anatomy.
I'm hesitant to say woeful. It's a very intentional act, as I think, as you read further into it and as everything happens. He's doing things on purpose.
Okay, fair enough. You can tell the parts that I recollect from when I read that when I was like 11. Anyways, pressing on.
It's no surprise that we have the highest rates of mental illness ever in history now. 1/4 of Americans and Brits have a diagnosed mental illness, and 40% of Gen Z does. I think these are lowball numbers, given lots of people have mental illnesses that they don't know about themselves or haven't been diagnosed.
I'm pretty sure they diagnose them and they run an average for the population. I don't think they rely on every single person actually self-reporting their mental illness.
I mean, every single girl I've met under the age of 25 has a serious mental illness.
Okay.
I mean, let's be fair.
They're
bitches, right?
Well, I was going to say they're me.
I mean, what is he saying here? Is he fucking out of his mind?
I think he's... I think he's...
Is this just him saying chicks, man? You know chicks? They're fucking all nuts, man.
I think he's having a bad time on Tinder. I think that's what a lot of this is.
Every woman
every woman he's met, which for all we know may be true. It's an anecdote. It's possible. Maybe he's just he's been very unlucky. I don't know.
Whatever.
Elliot got done dirty by Herbert. I remember.
A lot of people got done dirty by Herbert. The largest massacres in the history of all of everything are in those books. Like,
do you, in your opinion, does this stand alone, or does this need the other novels?
I don't know what this is. I can't.
Sorry. Just
Dune Messiah or the first?
No. This is the first. Look how thick it is. This is the first Dune.
I don't know.
I
believe it stands alone very nicely. I don't think you have to continue on. I think it helps to continue on because the entire point of the thing is about basically when man gets to the point that it's able to predict his own behaviors or behaviors of other people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's a what it means to know your own future, and the sort of, again, the fascist demand towards the paranoiac predictability of the future. He's directly railing against. The entire series is about that. And I find it very powerful to be able to say, whatever. I can't say, but it's for those who've read it. I think that's the point, and I love that. But I think the book stands very much alone. I think it works.
Well, what I mean is like Dune 1, and I think maybe this a little bit more so than some of the ones that follow, like Dune Messiah and Children of Dune are a little less self-contained. I think just from what I remember of them in
I
terms
would
of their
say
plot.
you have to have read Dune to get the rest of the books. Like, obviously, sequels
Yeah.
don't work the same way. I,
But like Dune by itself, if Dune was by itself, if there were no sequels, it would still be like I think there's
it's still one. It's the greatest. I believe it's one of the greatest sci-fi novels of all time, without the rest of this stuff. Yeah.
well, the reason why I compared it to Moby Dick is I think it actually has like a completeness as a novel that I'm not sure the other ones necessarily do, just by dint of them being expansions on themes that were started in this one. I think this one, like in terms of its overall structure, like the ending.
But
The
then
ending
I would then,
yeah.
but I'd argue then, like, Chapter House Dune is 100% self-contained then, but it's not at all because it necessitates. Well, no.
I mean, it might.
Well,
I
it's
mean,
tougher.
maybe more so because it's like thousands of years in the future. I think. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. I was under.
Also, it's just a book about Herbert and his wife.
I wanna. I'm looking forward to when I get to the one with the giant black cock on the cover.
God Emperor.
Yeah.
I'm assuming God Emperor. I don't know what books you have.
Well, it's God Emperor. It's the.
I mean, it's
It's an infamous cover. It's.
the worm.
But like, hang on. Okay, chat. So for people who don't know what I'm talking about, just look at this. This is God Emperor of Doom. I'm like, I'm imagining like the people who okayed this, like they must have shown drafts.
No, this was. Do you want to, dude? This was in a time when pulp novels had wild covers. Like some of the greatest sci-fi art of all time came from this era.
Has Herbert ever commented on the cover for God Emperor?
I mean,
This
I
is
don't
like
know. I would assume he probably liked it because it's kind of a faithful image, and the dude liked his phalluses.
Is it though? I thought the character here was not just like a head inside of a worm. I thought it was like
He is the worm.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but
But
it's pretty faithful. I mean, he's got a head.
yeah. Like, look at the shape of the opening at the top. Like, look at that.
He's still a sandworm.
No, I understand, but look at the shape of the mouth. Like, they can't be accidental. Like, look at that.
Oh no, it's a dick.
Okay.
I mean, you've now read Dune. There's a little bit of phallic imagery throughout all of it.
Oh, I mean, he has like a sexual analogy for history in the last few pages, but yeah. Anyways, pressing on. We have 3 more minutes of this.
I said before, life is a farce, and you can choose to view it as wonderful or terrible depending on how you want to look at it. There are eras of history far worse physically than ours with much better mental illness. I literally cannot find a single...
Oh my god.
They don't make mental illness like they used to.
No, I think he means that they were in a better position with mental
Oh no,
illness.
I understand. But he's showing depictions of World War II.
Fucking unreal.
ever to the current mental illness pandemic. It's normal for in secular cycles that I talk about in these videos, in which we're currently going through, for the world's population to have over a few decades. That's going to happen in our near future from the current demographic data, since there are so few births. Rather than having a plague or wars like in traditional secular cycles, the population decline will come since too many people will be too mentally ill to procreate. The different mental illnesses are different tricks the mind plays to keep the ego alive when death is unbearable. Split personality and schizophrenia is when your mind splits off the traumatic parts to keep the rest of your ego safe. Anxiety keeps you away from potentially dangerous things, and depression's the same thing. I have PTSD, which is what happens when the natural mental defense mechanisms against chaos become turned up too high, causing lots of stress.
No.
The Indian writer Tagore
No. Oh, man. So this is how I have friends who are like they're autistic, and they get really pissed when people do that shit where they like, oh, I'm gonna do my autistic tics on here's how I like whatever on.
Yeah.
This is how that feels. You don't. That's oh man. PTSD is not that. That is not how that works, and that is a really horrifying way to describe it.
Gore said you can either let the truth into your home or it will burn it down. That's the case with death. We've unhealthily tried to keep death
You need to let death into your home or it will burn it down.
as far away as possible, but now we're going to see a lot of it. In almost all the world, we will either see mass aging without enough young people to support the society, which will create horrific choices about just not having enough money to keep Granny alive. At the same time, the modern world's overextended supply chains will cause famine in most of the third world. War and plagues aren't givens, but they're definitely plausible. If our culture wants to survive this...
Wait. How would the first world's over-importation cause famine in the third world, where the third world is where they're producing it for the first world? Wouldn't the famine be in the first world?
Do you think he knows that we import most of our vegetables and grain?
He said this. Literally, the previous slide had that.
Oh, did he?
will cause famine in most of the third world. In the world, we will either see mass aging without enough young people to support the society, which will create horrific choices about just not having enough money to keep Granny alive. At the same time, the modern world's overextended supply chains will cause famine in most of the third world. War and plagues aren't...
Overextended supply chains? That's not what's going to cause famine. What's going to cause famine is the climate's going to get too arid. It's not because the supply chains are too long. Like, we can't control them anymore.
I also love how he's just been like deeply selective of where he put an X. Because he did that. That's not part of the original graph, just being very clear.
Well, if you were Captain Flint, are you going to bury your treasure
anywhere that is not a cool
North
place?
America? Yeah, fair enough.
Because he goes out of his way to leave, like, Sweden and Finland he has X's in for some reason, despite them being exporters and not importers. Yet he's okay with Norway and the UK and Scotland and Iceland, despite them being deeply dependent on imports. There's the thing, everyone in Hawaii knows that they have 5 days to die. If you didn't, that's a thing.
Hang on. What about why South America? Why? I don't understand. Like, there are policy issues right now that are causing problems, but that's not because of like production scarcity. Anyways.
Givens, but they're definitely plausible. If our culture wants to survive this plague, we need to start doing
This was something from Annihilation for a second.
Things that protect us against the fear of death. We should return to community, religion, family, nation, local business, personal rather than bureaucratic structures, and push heroism.
All of these past things that led to exactly where we are now.
Is he saying, wait, okay. Everything is caused by our fear of death. So we need to get away from our fear of death to the things that allow us to ignore the death that makes things beautiful.
Yes, but also no.
Okay.
but also yes.
Cool. I'm gonna get some cool sci-fi covers while you watch the rest of this garbage.
No, don't leave me with this.
However, as we all have to live through the mental health equivalent of the Black Death, keep your wits and know that the world around you is crazy, not the other way around. This reminds me of this fascinating chart, which talks about these stages.
Look at this graph.
Hey, these are heat maps indicating the highest moral allocation by ideology.
Okay, wait a second.
Does it mean morale?
Heat maps indicate highest, source data is provided. Highest value on the heat map scale is 20 units for liberals, 12 for conservatives. Moral circle rings from inner to outer described as follows: 1, all of your family, all your closest friends, all your friends, acquaintances, people you've met, all your country, all people, all mammals, all amphibians, all animals. What? What is it? What am I looking at?
I don't know. I want to go to bed.
Jack Vance, lovely book, really cool, like psychedelic stuff. 8 Phantasms and Magic, fantastic stuff.
That's a nice cover that probably prevented it from selling very well.
It's Jack Vance. It sold extremely well.
Did it?
This is Book of Dreams, which is part of the Kugel saga. If you're not familiar with Jack Vance, he wrote Dying Earth, which is like his best stuff. But this is the Demon Prince novels, and you can actually see. Let's see. Come on, focus, and you can see the Demon Prince.
Yeah.
Now, 1 second. This is from this. There we go. Come on, zoom in. Give me a focus.
Put your finger in front of it. It seems to like that more.
It seems to not want to zoom in. It's looking for my
Oh, there
face.
you go. There you go. Yeah.
So we'll do it with face. Demon Prince, guy fighting. And then another Jack Vance, The Killing Machine. Look at that shit.
I like that
See
one.
that fucking machine? It's great.
They use colors they don't use anymore.
How about, this is one of my favorite covers. Philip K. Dick had a lot of great ones, but the Simulacra, the hand grabbing, fucking love this piece. It's great. It's great. If you're not familiar with Ursula, you should be.
Kind of like this one.
Kugel Saga. Hyperion's great. All-time great. Kugel Saga, love it. But then Harlan Ellison. Again, just the stuff is amazing. Look at that. Alone
It's like
Against
something
Tomorrow.
out of there's something out of
Beautiful.
Cruelty Squad.
Well, I mean, Harlan Ellison would be for sure up there. I mean, he wrote I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. The inspiration for Terminator.
Eat before you read that, by the way. Not after.
I mean, it's actually one of his fairly more tame books, to be frank. But it's so good. Oh, I love that shit. All good stuff.
All right, let's finish this.
Finish this shit.
Of life that conservatives versus progressives care about. For conservatives today, they put a heavier emphasis upon their families, their local communities, and their nations.
What is the point to this? Just say...
Which I think is reasonable because those are the things you can
Like, what does this
actually influence
visualization
as an individual.
give us as new
Meanwhile,
information?
for progressives, they care more about all human life, all sentient life, and everything beyond that, which is impossible unless you are a god to influence and is a way of abdicating any sense of influence or responsibility in your individual life. Life exists through paradox. In many ways, the best way to deal with death is to not take it too seriously. I know what I just said is contrary to the entire human condition, but we know from the greatest figures in history that it's possible.
No.
When I grew up...
No, you don't. Fuck off.
What do you mean
Let's
not
try-
take it too seriously? Like, the Christian morality is primarily motivated by the fear of a second death. Like, death is, Christian religion is obsessed with death and warding it off.
We had fireflies. They were little bugs that would go out in the night and make these beautiful little flashing lights. And at our heart, we're fireflies. No matter how high you go, no matter how great, you'll just be a firefly that went a little bit higher than the rest. Being
No, you won't. No, you fucking won't.
that small might be terrifying, but at the same time, fireflies are absolutely beautiful. And even if you completely fail, since your life is so small, it means that everything is going to be okay.
What? So this is the moral of the story. You're a pretty little firefly. Your life is meaningless. Do not fret about the annihilation of your worthless existence.
Twisted, absolutely zero chance he's going to name fucking Camus, because Camus would be actually a coherent response to this.
Camus not in here.
Camus not in there, and also requires reading.
The greatest figures in history didn't fear death. Socrates, Jesus, Gandhi, and the
Jesus, who famously was in the Garden of Olives, like, please God, take this cup from me. What are you talking about? God is crying in fear of death in the Bible.
were able to face it, and they knew that they were part of a beautiful mosaic, that whether or not they lived was still everything and the most meaningful thing in the world. If they didn't fear death, I know it's an option for the rest of us not to either.
Jesus Christ, what a useless human being.
I'm going to bed. Have a good night, everyone. Take care. I tell a lie. Okay, hang on, everyone, we're still here. Apparently, Brooks is
Oh shit.
has his own plans. Yeah, we're live now. Yep, there we go. Now we're actually live now. Brooks, you wanted to read some Bataille at the end, apparently.
Oh shit. If we're going to talk about death, I want to at least end on a good note. And so I've been trying to figure out what I might say. So I'll just go with
Are you going to actually kill me at the end of the stream? Because that would be a good note.
no, erotism from Bataille, which is a stunning sort of treatise on what it means for death and taboo and sex and everything sort of being part and parcel of each other and how they work together. I just want to. These white bones do not leave the survivors a prey to the slimy menace of disgust. They put an end to the close connections between decomposition, the source of an abundant surge of life, and death. But in an age more in touch with the earliest human reactions than ours, this connection appeared so necessary that even Aristotle said that certain creatures, brought into being spontaneously, as he thought, in earth or water, were born of corruption. The generative power of corruption is a naive belief, responding to the mingled horror and fascination aroused in us by this decay. This belief is behind a belief we once held about nature as something wicked and shameful. Decay summed up the world we spring from and return to, and horror and shame were attached both to our birth and our death. That's good death writing.
Can I go to bed now?
Yeah, go. Still good.
I gotta sleep.
I don't have any more Bataille. That's it. I just wanted to read that one. Just good stuff.
It's a very nice line. It'll probably kill me, though.